slowly turns around. Okay, I like that. Oh, that's terrifying.
What did you say?
Oh, that's terrifying. Welcome to Mycorrhiza. Once my eyes adjusted, the first thing I saw was it.
Yes!
True.
What?
Welcome to a world of distorted minds.
What?
Nice.
Do I look funny? What? No, get away from me. Welcome to Mycorrhiza. Anyways, I'm gonna do it like this really quickly, just because I don't know what's happening. Read the tutorial. If you already play visual novels, then you might be familiar with these shortcuts, but just in case you aren't, with Control or the right trigger, you can skip already read text. Okay, I like that. With Tab, you can toggle skipping. True. You can also press the fast forward button on the bottom right of this text. By pressing the play button on the right text, you can toggle autoplay. This advances the text automatically. After pressing it will turn into a pause button, which you can stop autoplay. You can set the autoplay time. It will wait before advancing to the text under settings. Okay, thank you. Can I have settings, please? With H or the middle mouse button, you can hide the UI if you'd like to see the CGs in all their glory. You can also press the Y button on your gamepad. Pressing the X button on the top right side of the text box does the same. Pressing Escape, Start, or right mouse opens the game menu. Alternatively, you can also press the quick menu button in the top left folded page corner. You can view the text history by using the mouse wheel, left bumper, or the page up button. I thought they said this was a short tutorial. Self-voicing. V toggles assistive self-voicing. I appreciate that. You can also turn on the other accessibility options like dyslexic font and audio cues in the settings. Ooh. There's also an option to change the game's brightness in the settings. Note that hiding the UI temporarily ignores your brightness setting until the UI is shown again. One thing that should be noted is that you can play through the upcoming doors in any order. You don't need to play them left to right. Some audio events in this game also make use of stereo effects, thus it's best to enjoy the game with headphones. The rest should be pretty self-explanatory. Don't disappoint her. Don't disappoint who? Okay, thank you. There we go. Now we have settings. Okay, settings. Text. Let's make it large. Audio cues would be kind of nice. Full screen. Perfect, okay. Okay. I like how they're like load. It's like, what am I loading? We haven't played yet. Start. Welcome to a world of distorted minds. I mean, if the game can read out loud for me, I will feel much better. That's not reading! My eyes were burning. It felt like hot coals were lying on my eyelids. I slowly opened them and attempted to heave myself up from the cold asphalt. But I failed. My whole body was heavy and my head felt like it was being squashed by a hydraulic press. After a few attempts, I finally succeeded and tried to make out where I was. The fog in my mind lifted slowly and I realized that I was in a dark alleyway. My vision was still blurry and I had trouble keeping my eyes open. But I could tell that I'd never seen this place before. Slowly, my heart began to race. Was I abducted? Mugged? What had happened to me? I hastily checked my body, fortunately finding no wounds. Why was I feeling this weak then? Maybe I was drugged. As I tried to recall what might have happened to me, my eyes finally focused. I could see a house in front of me. It was the only house on the street with its lights on. The dirty yellow glow shone through almost every single visible window. I felt some relief knowing that the tenants were awake. Perhaps they could tell where I was. I approached the front door. It took me some searching to find the doorbell through the overgrown ivy. A deep gong rang out from within the house when I pressed it. The sound, amplified by the cold wind cutting through my shirt, made me tense up. I didn't hear a gong sound. What an odd choice for a doorbell sound, I thought while rubbing my upper arm to warm myself. I waited. No one answered. My mind twisted in confusion. Why was no one coming? I rang the doorbell again. Then I tried knocking. No response. No one was coming. I didn't understand. Did they forget to turn off the lights and go on vacation? As a last resort, I tried turning the doorknob, and it actually opened. This worried me. Did something happen to the family living here? Perhaps I should find a phone and call the police. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the street. My heart started to pound as my body tensed up. I wanted to dash into the house, but my feet refused to move. What was that sound? Was someone out here? Pictures of otherworldly monsters and armed kidnappers popped into my mind as my eyes scanned the darkness. The world was silent once more. I was still on edge, but my body slowly started to relax as I regained my composure. I decided I didn't want to find out what that was. Cautiously, I stepped through the threshold and firmly closed the door behind me. I entered a dimly lit hallway. The contours of minimalist furniture were illuminated by the streetlights outside. I felt an immediate lurch of guilt as I was trespassing into a stranger's home. Hello? Is anyone here? No answer. The house was eerily quiet. I cautiously ventured further down the hall and stopped in front of one of the doors. A dim yellow light seeped silently through the bottom crack. I turned the knob. Locked. Then the next one also locked. They all seemed to be. I frowned. Why were there lights behind these locked doors lit? It gave me an uneasy feeling. The door at the very end of the hall was the only one I hadn't tried yet. I grasped its handle and turned it slowly. It swung open to complete darkness. Once again, my body tensed up while my mind started to conjure horrific images. A beast with dislocated limbs and crooked teeth creeping towards me from the darkness. A floor littered with corpses and walls stained with blood. A giant spider sitting in a corner waiting for its chance to strike. My hands shook as I reached to flick on the light. It was an utterly ordinary bedroom. My heart slowly calmed down as I realized that I seemed to be safe. I felt almost silly getting scared of nothing. A quick search yielded nothing but barren, dusty shelves. The bed was the only meaningful object present. Slowly but surely, a wave of fatigue washed over me. With my adrenaline rush fading away, I found that I was more exhausted than I realized. Like a worm wriggling its way into an apple, a single thought slowly invaded my mind. I had to sleep. Trying to fight it made it worse, as if some outside power was affecting me. Sleeping in a stranger's bed in a stranger's home was the last thing I wanted to do right now. But it was soon the only thing I could think about as my consciousness faded. I had to sleep. The world turned dark and soft covers of the bed pulled me deeper and deeper into the black abyss. Dusty shelves, the horror, right? We're sleeping. My god. Mycorrhiza. I love the art. Choose the door to start. Okay, so they said we don't have to start from left to right. We can pick any door. Center door. Center door sounds good. Center door. Also, if you enjoy the content, please give some love to YouTube. Check out all of our videos, all of our stuff. We got tons of cool things coming as well. So, yeah, give it some love. It'll be awesome. Choose your death. Center door. Oh, God! A guide to funny faces. Those are not funny faces. Those are terrifying. Okay, center door was not a good idea. Like, oh! I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare. Seems like I just had a nightmare. I couldn't remember it anymore, but it must have been horrifying. Chills were still running down my spine. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. A look out the window confirmed that it was still night. I had either slept for a whole day or only a few hours. Considering how tired I felt, it must have been the latter. I left the bedroom to retry the doors just in case. They were still locked. I really wanted to go home and take a shower. I smelled my clothes and they indeed had started to smell slightly sour. This place seemed to have nothing left to offer. I'd be better off out in the streets even if it was still dark. All I needed to do was find a police station. They'd definitely be able to help me. As I wandered around, I grew more and more aware of how big this town was. The buildings were tall and nature was rather scarce. The streets, however, were completely empty. Suddenly my ears began to pick up the subtle sounds of laughter. The sounds turned to unease in my empty stomach. It was awfully late for such a public crowd. There wasn't cheering or rounds of applause, just laughter, loud and obnoxious laughter that didn't seem to subside or grow. It became louder as I approached the town center. Soon it turned into a wave of commotion by what sounded like to be a massive crowd. They just laughed and kept laughing. It sounded dreadful. I was tempted to change course and avoid them. Yet this direction was my best bet for finding an inn or a police station. These priorities outweighed my sense of danger. I pressed on. The laughter was bellowing with hundreds of voices until finally I could glimpse the source of the commotion. The crowd gathered around a performer who was doing something to make them laugh. I strained to see the action, peeking through the small gaps between the people while keeping a safe distance. Wait, let me... It's a little bit tricky, though. Okay, wait, 1 second here. Settings. No, the group was too dense, I couldn't see any details. Curiosity overwhelmed me as I started pushing through the people. They seemed to melt away without paying me much attention. As I approached, I passed a double with books. I couldn't make out their title, but I could see something that resembled a mask on the cover. Paying it no mind, I pressed onward. I couldn't understand what was happening. Looking up sales? Did you find a monitor yet, or are you still looking? The performer wasn't making sounds. I couldn't make any movement from beyond the crowd either. What was so entertaining? Finally, I reached the front, but what I saw was the opposite of funny. It was horrifying. Oh, okay. That's terrifying. What was wrong with his head? He turned his hips so that everyone in the crowd could have a clear view, as if he didn't want anyone to miss it. Why are people laughing at this? A bystander heard me. I don't know, his face just seems so funny. I mean, look at it. I stared at him in disbelief. He and the others really did seem to find this funny. Were they seeing something I wasn't? No matter how I looked at it, it didn't seem like anything other than disturbing. Okay, wait, let me move this up just a little bit here. I averted my gaze and walked away. I wanted nothing to do with this madness. Would have been if the performer was imitating you and everybody was laughing. That would be actually terrifying too. I continued to comb through the town center while trying to keep my distance from the crowd. Soon I noticed that the sun had already started to rise, and still I hadn't found anything that even vaguely resembled a police station. It's kind of creepy, isn't it? I had walked by a girl that was standing nearby. She was watching the crowd from a distance. Yeah, it is. I was glad to hear that someone else was thinking the same. An awkward pause followed. I had been under the impression that she wanted to start up a conversation, but I guess that wasn't the case. My stomach broke the silence. Are you hungry? Blood shot to my face. It was true that I was feeling starved. Swallowing my pride, I nodded. I have a sandwich with me. You can have it. Are you sure? No worries, I'm not hungry anyways. I had to hold myself back as to not lunge onto it, but I kept my cool and ate it cautiously as to not embarrass myself. Some of my strength returned to me. In the meanwhile, I decided to ask her about this town. Sorry, I don't know my way around here that well. Oh, so you're not from here? No, not really. Maybe I could help you look. I'm feeling a bit uneasy about being alone here anyways. I glanced back in the direction of the laughing crowd. Sure, I would really appreciate that. I'm Scott, by the way. I'm May. Nice to meet you. We set off to look for help. The idea to call someone I knew from May's phone came up, but she didn't have it on her, unfortunately. We approached several people to ask them for directions, but all of them seemed to ignore us. I tried to make some small talk with May every now and then, but her replies were always short and didn't leave much room for follow-ups. But she perked up when I asked her about her family. I have a sister. At first I thought that would be all I'd get out of her, but she continued after a short pause. She's been home more recently. Usually she'd leave early and return late or not return home at all for several days. Her job is really important, so it makes sense. But I was really happy when she told me that she wouldn't go to work for a while. I assumed she was finally able to request some time off, but she continued to work even at home. May hung her head. It seemed like I had touched on a sensitive topic. I thought of ways to console her or cheer her up, but I couldn't come up with anything to say. Since I didn't have any siblings, it was hard to relate, but it seemed like she really loved her sister. I could actually relate more to May's sister. Just as her, I too barely been home due to my work. And just like her, I'd likely be working even if I was home. But as opposed to May's sister, I didn't have anyone who was expecting me back home. I decided against poking any further and instead shifted my focus back to asking people for directions, without much luck. Oddly enough, it was as if they were all going in the same direction, the town center. So do you think they're going to see that performer? Silence. Maybe she just hadn't heard me. I turned around to ask her again, but she was nowhere to be seen. Just as I finished that thought, I felt a presence behind me. I slowly turned around. That's terrifying. Yo, the art is so good, though! What the hell? What do you think? Do I look funny? What? No, get away from me. I took a few steps back, afraid that the man would lunge at me, but he didn't. He just stood there. I see. Maybe I didn't do it quite right. And with that, he walked off, disappointed. He took a book out of his pocket and started flipping through it. For some weird reason, he seemed familiar. This town was giving me the creeps. I needed to get out of here as fast as I could. But as I turned around, I saw that most of the people walking by had distorted their faces in one way or another. It was as if a virus had spread while we were looking for help. This was madness. I needed to get out of here, but where to? And where was May? I was getting kind of worried. I took a look around and thought what I had to do. Okay. Stay on the main street. It should be easier to find May or the police station that way. Go through the back streets and avoid attracting any unwanted attention. Oh shit. Oh shit. Okay, we're gonna go through the back streets and avoid attention. This is probably a bad idea, but staying on the main street was too dangerous. The fewer of them I came in contact with, the better. But the moment I stepped into the dark alleyway, a bad feeling welled up inside me. Was I really that much safer here than out in the streets? I turned around and looked back at the people walking by. Some shot glances my way. Perhaps because I was one of the few people around whose face looked normal, that made me nervous. I turned back towards the alleyway. Whatever was waiting me here couldn't be worse than being surrounded by all those madmen out there. You would have chosen the main street. My heartbeat accelerated every time I rounded a corner. I soon noticed that the backstreet layout was quite elaborate. There were no dead ends and it seemed to stretch on forever. I should have glimpsed an exit leading to the main street long ago. Was I just walking in circles? Right as I was about to turn another corner, I saw them. I froze in place. The person on the left spoke. It was the voice of a boy. Oh, you're normal. His words caught me off guard. What did he mean by normal? And what was up with those masks? Yeah? I tried to sound confident, but my voice shook slightly. The other child spoke. Her voice sounded like a girl's voice. I'm Amy, and this is my brother Lonnie. She gestured to the smaller kid next to her. We're hiding from the other people, those with weird faces. You are hiding from them too, right? My body slowly rocked. It seemed like they really were just normal kids. Those masks were still freaking me out, though. Yeah, I am. Do you know how we can escape from here or maybe find some help? No, unfortunately not. I thought I knew a good way through these back streets, but I think we're lost. Not because of me, though. She wanted to. Amy punched his arm. Oh, hey, if we had turned right as I said we should have, we wouldn't be lost anymore. That was a dead end, you dimwit. You just didn't see it because your mask was too big. Lonnie rubbed his shoulder and started sulking. Why are you wearing those masks in the first place? Some people with those weird faces have been, well, they've been using people with normal faces as material. As material? Lonnie flinched as Amy muttered those words. It seemed like they had seen some terrible things. Hiding in these alleyways had been a good idea. Alright, we should probably move on. There has to be a way out of here. I'll stick with you, that way it'll be safer. I couldn't see their faces, but their body language, I could tell that they were relieved. I too was happy that there were other normal people out here. While we were walking, I tried to find out more about the siblings and what they knew about this situation. Our parents hadn't come back since yesterday night. We didn't think much of it and assumed that they'd be back late, but when we woke up, they still weren't there. We wanted to ask some neighbors for help, but they weren't home either. I thought we should wait, but I thought that was a dumb idea. If they hadn't come back yet, then something must have happened to them. And you want to be a scientist? Oh yeah, your idea turned out so great, and I never said I want to be a scientist. I still don't know. Yeah, or artist, whatever. I tried to steer the conversation to stop a fight from breaking out. Those feel like pretty Pretty contrasting job choices. They do, don't they? I guess both help people in their own ways. At least that's one of the neighbors of ours claims whenever she fights with another neighbor. We have 2 neighbors who are close to our family, and I froze, so did the siblings. Someone was there, just around the corner. I jerked my head around trying to find a place to hide. For a second, I considered that they could be someone normal, someone just like us. Someone who was just as freaked out by whatever was going on in the city as we were. But I didn't want to take any unnecessary risks, and especially didn't want to put these kids in danger. I spotted a big garbage container not too far from us and quickly pushed Amy and Lanny towards it. We made it just in time. Amy held her breath. Lonnie was fidgeting slightly. No, he was trembling. I was afraid that he would make too much noise, but he managed to pull himself together. Silence. Was the person just standing there looking down the alleyway we were in? Or were they already gone and I just hadn't heard them leave? This one doesn't have the feel of uber scary. Yeah, I don't think, like, you'll have much, like, uberly, like, jump scares, like, outside of, like, the art, because it's a visual novel. Yeah, it's more creepy because of the art styles. Because it's inspired by a really famous horror manga artist. But it's pretty much just, like, reading and just, like, looking at the art. And knowing and trying to survive. I managed to suppress the story itself. Yeah. I managed to suppress my curiosity and decide not to peer around the container. Lonnie apparently couldn't. I was about to stop him and pull him back, but it was already too late. He had already peeked out of our hiding spot. His body relaxed slightly and he spoke in a hushed tone. Amy, it's Frederick, our neighbor. Amy perked up. It seemed like they knew this person. Yeah, you should be okay. As Amy saw my puzzled expression, she started to explain. Don't worry, Frederick is the neighbor we were talking about. He's a bit of a nerd since he's a researcher, but he's pretty cool otherwise. The last remark stung a bit, seeing as I was a researcher myself, but I decided to ignore it. Here, have this just in case. I'll go talk to him. Lonnie shoved his mask into my hands and jumped out of our cover. I was about to grab and stop him, but my hands gripped empty air. Amy jumped up as well and ran after him. Likely realizing how dangerous his idea was, I hesitated. But just for a second. There was no way I could let those two go out there by themselves. If something went wrong, I had to be there to protect them. I hesitantly put on the mask Lonnie had given me and stepped out of our hiding spot. Lonnie had since called out to Frederick and was now approaching him. I froze when I saw him. That was the guy I had met earlier. And his face was still as ravaged as before. How Lonnie had recognized him was beyond me. Lonnie stopped a few feet from Frederick. Are you alright? Your face? Did they do this? Frederick had a puzzled look on his face at first, but his expression soon softened. Oh, that? How do I look? Terrible. Why can't they just leave us normal people alone? Frederick's expression darkened. My feet moved by themselves and I was quickly approaching Lonnie. Lonnie was under the misconception that someone else had done this to Frederick. But I knew that he was one of them. I quickly overtook Amy, who had stopped at a safe distance and stood between Frederick and Lonnie. Frederick glanced at me. It seemed like he didn't recognize me because of the mask. I was about to tell him to leave us when suddenly I gasped for air in my stomach. He had kicked me in the stomach. I could hear Amy gasp behind me as my knees gave in. My insides grew hot as I held onto my belly, my view fixed on the gray asphalt below me. Then I heard Lonnie cry out. I jerked my head up, still unable to get up due to the pain. He's so creepy looking! Look at him! Oh my god! This is terrifying. Frederick had grabbed Lonnie and was pulling him back towards the way Frederick had come from. I was hoping to find someone whose face was in an impeccable shape, just as yours. You'll make for some nice material. Hey, let go! Lonnie was struggling with all his might, but Frederick was stronger. He picked Lonnie up and he threw her against the wall. Lonnie's head collided with the hard surface and his body went limp. Before I was able to heave myself up, Amy had apparently freed herself from her frozen state. She ran past me and towards Frederick. Stop! Let him go! She must have known that winning against an adult was impossible for her, but her judgment was clouded by her desire to save her brother. All because I had been too careless and had let Frederick hit me. But before Amy could throw herself onto Frederick, he turned around and hit her with his backhand. She staggered to the side, her mask flying off her face. Her expression was twisted in pain. Frederick froze as he saw what was under the mask, a normal face. Oh wow, 2 potential donors. A sick grin formed on his dismembered face. My feet finally stopped wobbling and I managed to stand up. I had to help Amy, otherwise Frederick would take her too. I charged forward as Frederick started approaching her and was about to tackle him when... Once again, a hot feeling spread through my stomach. The difference was that he hadn't kicked me this time. I stumbled backwards and looked down. Blood. My feet gave in once again. Frederick was holding a knife. He had stabbed me. Right where was I? He fixed his eyes at Amy, who was staring back at him, frozen in fear. Carrying two might be too difficult, but I don't want to leave you here like this either. Ah, I got it. He started rummaging through his pockets shortly after he pulled out something small. I glanced at Amy. She had tears in her eyes. My brain was screaming that I had to help her, but my body wouldn't move. I had lost too much blood. Having a funny face is good and all, but I wanted to approach this from a scientific perspective. There had to be a way to capitalize on this new trend. Maybe I could finally win a prize or two. Coincidentally, I found some odd mushrooms not too long ago. Right? After some experiments, I discovered that they had potential to influence someone's facial arrangements. So I went ahead and made this. He held up something that looked like a small pill. Blood. Blood, right? Amy started to crawl backwards, but her back soon hit a wall. Admittedly, I hadn't had a chance to try it out yet. That's where you come in. He was now standing right in front of Amy and bent down. You should thank me. Many people will attain face comedy enlightenment, as I'll call it. Maybe I'll be able to sell as many books as the most hilarious one. He jerked forward and grabbed Amy's face, trying to force the pill into her mouth. I tried crawling towards them, but almost all my strength had left me. Amy was trying her best to keep Frederick off, but he was too strong. Her muffled screams were heart-wrenching, and then she gulped. Frederick stepped back, satisfied. All right, let's see. It should start any second now. I closed my eyes. I could tell that Amy was flailing in pain. She tried to scream, but all that came out was a deep gurgle. After a few more painful seconds, it stopped. All went quiet. Well, the face looks all right, but it seems like I have to tweak it some more before it's distribution ready. I heard footsteps. Frederick had picked Lonnie back up and was now leaving the alleyway. My eyes were still firmly closed. I didn't want to look. I didn't want to see what had happened to Amy, but I had to know if she was really dead or if she could still be saved. I slowly opened my eyes. Oh God. Why did this have to happen to them? Why hadn't I been able to help them? Amy? She didn't respond. I looked down the alleyway. There was no trace of Lonnie or Frederick. They were gone. And soon I would die too. I was steadily losing blood and there was no way anyone would find me and help me. I closed my eyes. As my consciousness faded, I felt a small sting in my back, as if something had stabbed me. It was barely noticeable, and then everything went dark. Okay. So I wonder what gets different, right? If we pick the other option, right? Well, it's hard to say though, because realistically, they all might lead to death, right? So each door is a different story, and then you have your alternate pathing. So let's go back into the middle door, and we'll choose the stay in the main store, the main road. So we should be able to just skip through the stuff quick. Yeah. So the cool thing about the game, right, is that you can speed through everything and go right back to the options where you didn't pick. So we're gonna stay on the main street this time. I felt uneasy around these people, but I didn't want to negatively impact my chances of finding help. Quickly, I hurried off while trying to ignore everyone's gazes. But wherever I went, those people were everywhere. On top of that, the town seemed to have no end. I couldn't find a road that led out, no matter how long I searched. Just as I was wondering about what to do, I recognized someone standing near a building. Scott, there you are. You had me worried. Oh, I'm sorry. I had something to take care of. That sounded oddly vague, but I didn't want to be rude, so I dropped it. She did give me a sandwich, after all. Did you have any luck finding your way back home? No, still nothing, and on top of that, there were all these weird people walking around. Actually, I know someone who may be able to help. You do? Yes, they don't live far from here. How about I introduce you? Oh yeah, sure. Wasn't she new in the town? Maybe she met them while we were separated? I considered questioning her, but this was the only lead I had found so far, and I didn't want to lose this chance. We arrived at an old, tall building. I watched Mai from the corner of my eye. Something seemed different about her, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Perhaps it was just my imagination. They live on the highest floor. This building is pretty old and not many people live here anymore, so it's a bit run down. I'd appreciate it if you went in first. I didn't protest and led us into the structure. The building was quite desolate, just as she had said. This place made me feel uneasy. I didn't want to stay here any longer than I had to. Not only was I afraid that everything would come down on our heads any minute, I could only imagine what could lurk in these abandoned halls. I didn't blame her for wanting me to go first. After climbing a set of stairs, May spoke up again. It should be the door at the end of this hall. I saw the door she was referring to. It was probably the only door in the entire building that wasn't damaged. The clean coat of paint was an eerie contrast to the ravaged environment. And the only one living here that can help me? No reply. I turned around and saw nothing. May was gone again. She could have at least said goodbye. I walked up to the door to knock, but it was already open. Maybe I had the wrong door after all, yet May had seemed certain. What should I do? Okay, so we're gonna enter the apartment this time. Perhaps they forgot to lock the door. Or maybe Mai had already notified them that we were coming and they left it open for us. I gave the door a soft push. Hello? No reply. It was a very small apartment. The door opened to the living room, which seemed to double as the bedroom. Oh, 100% it's a trap. A single corridor led to 2 more rooms, likely the bathroom and the kitchen. Just like the door itself, everything looked way too clean and tidy compared to the hallway outside. I stepped in and peered through a window, hoping to spot this person that I was supposed to meet. Everything looked normal from up here, but I knew that wasn't the case. Something was wrong with this town, and I was trapped here. Would I ever be able to return home? I had people who relied on me. Would my team at the lab manage without me? I tore myself away from the window. This wasn't the time to think about that. I should be concentrating on finding a way out. I thought about what to do next. Stay here and wait. Take a look. Take a look around the apartment. Check the desk. The surface of this was crammed with beauty products. A single mirror was standing amongst them. A small book was buried beneath the clutter. Check the mirror. My own reflection peered back at me. I looked like I had aged a decade. My lack of sleep had really done a number on me. Not to mention all these strange occurrences today. If I ever get out of this, I'll need a long vacation, I thought. As I looked in the mirror, a newspaper page hanging on the wall behind caught my eye. I approached it and skimmed it in case it had any hints on what was going on in town. But I was unfortunately wrong. This issue of Kejamihite News, as the paper was called, was several years old. The subheading read, "A rising new artist has wowed the judges at our competition. We can't wait to see her next work. She has a bright future ahead of her," one of the judges said. This article didn't seem to be important to my current situation. Too many choices, right? And I couldn't see any more of the newspaper snippets around. Disappointed, I averted my gaze and took another look around the room. Okay, check the pictures. I took a look at the pictures hanging on the walls. Most of them were paintings that depicted nature, only a few of them were photographs. One with a note scribbled on it caught my eye. It depicted a man and a woman having a picnic. The note said Sabrina and Frederick, BFF. Frederick? It seemed like one of them was living here, or maybe both. At the very least, I would now be able to recognize the tenant once I see them. I walked down the corridor towards the other rooms. As I suspected, it was just the bathroom and the kitchen. Something about the bathroom caught my eye. It was filled with countless beauty products. Scarily many beauty products. The shelves were overflowing. I could barely see the counter. Even the floor was littered with them. Shaking my head, I went back into the living room. Suddenly, I heard a sound outside the apartment. Hastily, I slipped inside a closet and carefully pulled it shut. I wasn't sure why I was hiding, but I had an awful feeling in my guts. Finding a stranger standing in your apartment probably wouldn't be something someone would take in stride. But then again, finding one in your closet would be even worse. I watched through the slits in the door as they entered the apartment. They stopped in the entryway and took a look around the room. Was this the tenant? Shadows were obscuring part of her body. I strained my eyes trying to see what they looked like. But what I saw made me cover my mouth and suppress a gasp. Oh, that's terrifying. The woman's face was ravaged. Fleshy chunks clung to her forehead. Were those face parts? Tisk tisk forgot to close the door again. She spoke to herself and moved as if nothing was wrong, but her face, it was horrendous. She walked up to the mirror. This looks so much better, just like in the book. I should check the text again. I may have missed something. She picked up the book that was lying on the desk and flipped it open. I see. I need more, yes, I definitely need more. She looked back to the mirror and caressed her disfigured face. She backed towards the exit and left the apartment. Her eyes never left the mirror. I remained frozen in the closet for a few more minutes. My heart slowly calmed itself. Once I was sure that she was really gone, I stepped out. I needed to get myself as far away from this building and this town as I could. As I was about to leave the apartment, a sudden wave of fatigue came over me. It was as if I had stepped into a veil. The air had gotten heavier and my breathing became more ragged. I clutched my chest as I tried to figure out what was going on. A throbbing pain pulsated through my arm. It was as if something had stabbed me. I tried to turn around, but I had already become too weak. My feet gave in and my vision darkened. Good things you went to the bathroom, right? I could feel a presence near me. The woman? May? Before I could find out, my consciousness faded. Okay, okay. Okay, okay. I'm gonna escape you, story. I'm gonna do it. Okay, actually. Let it just load up really quickly. Okay. Okay, so let's... Okay, so... Okay, if we go back to Main Street, that'll take us here. Okay. Because I feel like there has to be something else in the apartment. Because I feel like the apartment is important. But I don't remember what options we didn't pick. I mean, luckily, like, you can speed through the whole thing, so that's not, like, too bad. If you don't go into the bathroom and check something else... Okay, wait, let's go back in. Okay, wait. Oh, okay, so you can stay here and wait. Right, so we stay here directly, right? And then wait for her to catch us? Then we don't get stabbed from behind, maybe. Okay, so let's stay here. I shouldn't be too nosy after all, I was just a guest. So I waited. Suddenly I heard a sound outside the apartment. I hastily slipped inside. Oh no, so he's still hiding. I wasn't sure why I was hiding, but I had an awful feeling in my gut. Okay, so it's still this. Shadows were screening part of... Okay, so it's still the same. Okay. Okay, so we still get stabbed. Okay. I feel like there's gotta be something in that apartment, though. Cause like, what stabs us, right? Okay, let's take a look around the building, though. This time. Okay. Stay on the main street. Let's take a look around the building. I shouldn't barge into a stranger's home like this. The door being open didn't mean that I could just enter. My eyes wandered around the hallway, scanning it for anything notable. Maybe I could wait for them outside. I had noticed that the air here in here felt oddly heavy. I made my way back down the hallway when I heard some noise from the ground floor downstairs. Was it another tenant? Maybe they could help me. I wasn't very hopeful considering how badly it's been going so far, but it was worth a shot. Slowly creeped down the steps. I could make out a rhythmic, squishy sound that was getting louder and louder. An uneasy feeling was starting to set in my stomach. As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw a red trail on the ground. Blood. It must be blood. It led into an apartment. Its door was wide open. My feet froze. The sound was getting louder, more frantic. I needed to get out of this building. Something horrible was happening in here. But to get to the exit, I had to pass by that door. Past the blood trail. I considered going back up, but then I would be stuck in a dead end. My feet slowly started to move down the last couple of steps. Whoever or whatever was in that room couldn't notice me. Who knew what would happen to me if they did? The squishing became louder and louder the closer I got. Before long, I was standing right by the open door. The nameplate next to it read, Frederick Steiner. I considered quickly running past, but my curiosity overwhelmed me. I peeked in. The room was almost pitch black. The sole window barely led let any light through. I saw a rhythmic movement in the middle of the room. Someone was hunched over something. As the person lifted their hand once again, I saw a metallic glint in the light. They were holding a knife. They were stabbing someone over and over again. The techniques in the book are too simple. I don't have time for these childish games if I want to be as funny as the most hilarious one. Taking from the face? Nonsense. Why just the face? There's so much missed potential. Yeah, this must be the kids. This is exactly why my studies have been leading up to. She just doesn't get it, but I do. I'll show her what it means to be funny. They were whispering to themselves in a gurgling voice. I had no idea what they were talking about. They must have gone mad. I stepped away, ready to leave this building for good. But my foot slipped on the wet blood. I managed to catch myself and avoid falling, but I couldn't avoid making a sound. The movement inside the room suddenly stopped. Silence. Then their heads slowly turned my way. Oh dear. Who's there? The person frantically shook their grotesque head around. It seemed like they couldn't see me past all of the face modifications. The various body parts fused with their skin wiggled like worms crawling out of their head. Is that you, Sabrina? Have you come to your senses? Have you finally realized this is the only way to make an actually funny face? Look at me. Soon I will be the most hilarious one. And then, his breathing was getting even heavier than before. They went back to dismantling the body in front of them. I was safe. They really couldn't see me. I was safe. Trying not to make a sound, I stepped over the bloody trail and very cautiously made my way towards the exit. I definitely didn't want to get caught. Soon I was in front of the exit door. I could finally get out. But just as I was about to grab the handle, a sudden wave of fatigue came over me. It was as if I had stepped into a veil. The air had gotten heavier and my breathing became more rapid. I clutched my chest and tried to figure out what was going on. A throbbing pain pulsated through my arm as if something had stabbed me. I tried to turn around, but I had already become too weak. My feet gave in and my vision darkened. I could feel a presence near me. The person from the apartment? Before I could find out, my consciousness faded. Is there any way to survive it? There has to be. There has to be a way to survive this. Milo. The bottom right? These are horror faces. Okay, first door. Pets. Pets. Oh. Okay, it's that guy again. I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare seemed like I just had a nightmare. There were people laughing, their faces. I couldn't remember, but it must have been terrifying. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. I took deep breaths and kept mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, were still nagging at the back of my mind. But I was more confident that I'd be able to find help now that it was daytime. I left the bedroom to retry the doors just in case. They were still locked. I just wanted to go home and take a shower. I smelled my clothes and they indeed had started to smell slightly sour. This place seemed to have nothing left to offer. I'd better be off on the streets now that it's daytime. If I wasn't missing my wallet, then I would be getting something to eat as well. I was starving. I left the house for the bright sunlight. The back street didn't seem so bad anymore. I found it to be rather cozy and quaint. I made my way down the path until I heard faint sounds of conversations in the distance. A weight lifted from my heart when I first glanced at people walking around in a pedestrian area. There weren't many of them, and as I looked around, I got the feeling that this was a rather small town. Trees and flowers were planted at regular intervals, which gave it more of a rural atmosphere. It didn't matter, I could finally ask for help. Excuse me, could you tell me where I am? The woman blinked at my approach. She frowned and scowled in my general direction. This is Kejamhithe. She looked uncomfortable talking to me, so I thanked her and let her be. I'd never heard of a town with that name. Where? How did I end up here? The thought of being somewhere I didn't recognize scared me. How was I supposed to get back home if I didn't have the slightest idea where to go? I took a deep breath to calm myself down. My next best bet would be asking someone to allow me to make a call from their mobile phone. I approached an older man in a business suit. Excuse me, may I use your phone? I'm a bit lost and I would like to call a friend of mine so he can pick me up. His lips curled into a grimacing frown. Sorry, I'm in a bit of a hurry. I approached person after person, but I had no luck. No one wanted to lend an unkempt, half-dressed stranger their phone. As I made my way through the side street, I overheard two elderly women. I heard of some violent incidents recently. Most got away with just a flesh wound, saying that they were attacked by someone or something. Yeah, I heard that too. I wonder if it has anything to do with the pet disappearances. I heard of another cat that hadn't come back in several days. I was so focused on the conversation that I almost ran into a girl. I mumbled an apology until I realized that she had approached me on purpose. Hi. Hi. You need to call someone, right? She extended her hand and offered me her phone. How did you know? I've seen you asking for people for one. She nervously shuffled her feet and glanced away. Thank you, I won't take long. I took her phone. It was a red flip phone with a small panda hanging from a strap. The top bar read Mai's phone. Her background was set to a picture of herself in a pedestrian area. Right? She's super sus. The place in the picture looked oddly familiar, but I was likely just imagining it. I brushed that thought aside and dialed a friend's number. But the call didn't go through. I tried again, but the result was the same. Maybe their phone was turned off? I tried my parents' house phone, then the job's front desk, then my boss's personal cell. Each time the call failed. I was sure that I had the right numbers, but maybe the phone had a bad connection? It seems like the calls won't connect for some reason. Maybe you'll have more luck trying a landline. My phone does act up sometimes. You might be right. Still, thank you. I didn't want to hold her up any longer, so I gave her phone back. After a rushed farewell, I wandered off. I wanted to quickly look up another way to get in contact with someone I know. It occurred to me that I should have asked her for directions to the police station. I turned to look for her, but she had already vanished. As I made my way through town, I could definitely feel the tension in the air. She was right. Everyone was on edge. While I was passing by an alleyway, something caught my eye. They were too big to be rats. I couldn't really make anything out other than their eerie, glowing eyes. Maybe it was a cat gang searching the trash for food. Good morning. Apropos food, I was starving, but I couldn't possibly ask random people to feed me. And since my wallet was missing, I didn't have any money on me to buy something. Though there were oddly tempting-looking plants growing nearby. Buds fixed on thick stems were sticking from the ground. Each plant was surrounded by a number of small mushrooms. As I stared at them, I felt a pull. Their strange appearance hypnotized me, and without me noticing, my feet inched closer, and closer, and closer. Okay, well, let's start with eating them. It's a bad idea, but let's start with it. I couldn't really think while hungry, and who knew how long it had been since I had eaten, so it was probably either this or starving. I dug in. They didn't even taste that bad. Kind of grassy, but edible. Although it grew harder and harder to chew with every bite, something red dripped onto the ground. I soon realized that a liquid was coming out of my mouth. I couldn't tell if it was blood or the plant's juices. More started to pour out as I panicked and tried to figure out what was going on. While feeling around my mouth, I realized that it had become totally numb. Suddenly, a fleshy chunk fell into the red pool that had started to form before my feet. What? Was that my tongue? My vision became blurry and my stiff body hit the cold ground. It was dark when I awoke. I could make out that I was still lying next to the plants. It seemed like no one had bothered to help me. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. My whole body was paralyzed. I felt a sudden sting traveling from my head to my feet, and the pain grew by the second. Something was happening to me. Oh! It's sure, never eat random stuff. Oh god, look at my body! My hand! It was being bent into impossible position. Not just my hand, my whole body. It was warping, but it seemed like it couldn't handle the transformation. My body writhed. Gory death sound and snapped in two. There was a crooked man. Try again. I like how they're like, give up. Don't eat. I broke away from the hypnotic pull of the plants. What was I thinking? It didn't matter how hungry I was. They may be poisonous, but my hunger was beginning to gnaw at my insides. My vision grew blurry. Who knew how long it had been since I had eaten? Suddenly I collapsed and the world around me vanished. It was dark when I awoke. It seemed like no one had bothered to help me. I tried to get up, but I couldn't. My whole body was paralyzed from hunger. Something was shuffling by my ear. I felt the sniffing of an animal, perhaps one of those cats I saw earlier. I couldn't bring myself to look. It lost interest and walked past me towards the plants. I heard more follow. As they padded into view, I noticed that something was off about them. It must have been my mind playing tricks on me. My hunger was overwhelming. Something about their bodies was wrong. They started to eat the plants. They were smacking rather loudly. It made unnatural fleshy sounds. Every now and then, one would pause and give off a low growl that didn't at all sound like a cat's. It was more like a slightly higher-pitched bear growl. After a while, the sounds diminished and I felt their presence vanish. I gathered my strength and forced myself to my feet. What had just happened? What were those creatures? The violent crimes that I had heard about earlier popped into my mind. My hands began to shake. What would have happened if I hadn't been paralyzed and if they hadn't noticed that I was still alive? I took a cautious look around. Most house lights were still lit. I mustn't have been out for long. Once again, my body gave a deep growl. It was as if my stomach was eating itself. I had to get some food or else I was in danger of collapsing again. Should I ask someone living nearby for help or should I take another look around town? Okay. Ask for help. I was sure that they turned me away, but I was desperate. This was an emergency after all. Uncertainly, I approached the closest house and knocked. I was surprised when the door actually opened. Hi there, come on in. How nice of you to visit. Before me stood a fashionably dressed woman with a big smile on her face. She seemed welcoming, but her movements were rather stiff and almost mechanical. It was as if they had been practiced over and over again. The hat, the scarf, and the bag around her shoulders suggested that she was just about to leave. She seemed to notice my confused look. Oh, the bag, don't worry about it. I think it just suits me, so I've gotten used to wearing it around the house. That seemed unpractical, but I guess she was very conscious about her appearance. Now come in, everyone's already inside. Do we know each other? She took another thorough look at me and seemed to realize that we did, in fact, not know each other. Ah, you must be a new neighbor then. I'm Sabrina. Come in. She disappeared before I could correct her. I hesitantly followed her inside. On my way in, I saw a pet food bowl near the entrance with some of the strange-looking plants in it. Huh? She's been feeding those to her pet? I peeked into the living room. A man leaped to his feet as he saw me and stretched his big hand out to me. His clothes suggested that he was active in a scientific field and that he had gotten here right after work. His other arm hung down limply. Hi there, nice to meet you. I'm Frederick. How are you doing? I reciprocated his firm handshake and he cheerfully gestured me to take a seat beside him. To my surprise, the girl who had helped me earlier was here as well. Yeah. Then the other girl, Sabrina, is probably the one that was inside the beauty apartment where her face was all fudged up. I believe her name was Mai. She gave me a small wave. It's starting to feel like a festivity. We should have neighborhood get-togethers like this more often. Oh, right. This is... She turned and frowned in my direction while trying to remember a name she hadn't asked me for. Scott. I'm Scott. Right, Scott. He moved in nearby recently, I think, so I thought we should invite him in as well. Certainly, it is nice to see you. No, I'm not really... All right, give me a second. She rushed into the kitchen and came out with steaming dishes of food. I could make out different kinds of meat, baked potatoes, and more. My stomach gave off a deep growl. My mouth began to water. Any thought of honesty about my origin was gone. The other visitors started piling food onto their plates and I followed suit. As I devoured it, life came back to my body. I let my eyes wander over the others. Everyone seemed to be tense, especially Sabrina and Frederick. Their movements were rather stiff. Every now and then they threw glances each other's ways, glances that seemed to indicate mistrust. Sabrina seemed to especially be eyeing the cup that Frederick was drinking out of. Every now and then, when they noticed each other look, they put on a fake smile. Mai seemed like she hadn't planned to be here in the first place. Was she dragged into it just like I was? As I was cleaning my plate off its scraps, something important flashed into my mind. Excuse me, would you mind if I used your phone? Sabrina tisked. I'm afraid I don't have one. I never cared for those buggers. She looked over to Frederick. Maybe he can use yours. Of course, I can show you my house once we're ready to go. I gave off a sigh of relief and thanked Frederick. He waved his hand in the air. No problem at all. Please excuse me for one moment, though. He shuffled out of the room, presumably towards the bathroom. All right, I'll make some more tea. She scooped up Frederick's cup and left me alone with Mai. I cleared my throat and nodded in Mai's direction. Thank you again for lending me your phone. I did appreciate that. You're welcome. I hope you'll have more luck with the landline. Yeah, I hope so too. And I guess that was the end of the conversation. Perhaps she felt uncomfortable speaking to a weird-smelling stranger. I'm going to go wash my dishes. And there she went. The other two were taking quite a while. I used the opportunity to let my eyes wander around the room. The walls were dressed with paintings of all kinds, pictures of nature as well as more abstract drawings. A framed piece of paper and a photograph that was standing on the drawer beneath it caught my eye. The former seemed to be an art degree, the latter a picture of Frederick and Sabrina when they were younger. They were standing somewhere that could be a university campus. Both had genuine smiles on their faces. It seemed like their friendship went back quite a bit. Hey. Whoa. Did she sneak up behind me? I thought I had a clear view of the kitchen entrance. I think I heard some rumbling coming from downstairs. It'd probably be a good idea to check it out in case something happened to Sabrina. Maybe she heard her head on the way down. Or her face. Her last sentence was barely audible. I had probably just misheard her. Oh well, Sabrina had been gone for quite a while. Maybe something did happen to her. Perhaps I should take a look. What about Frederick? May's face suddenly tensed up as she heard his name. Frederick is still occupied. The way she said his name sounded almost hostile, but she sounded convincingly confident either way. I felt My's eyes follow me to the basement. I squinted down the stairs. It was almost pitch black. I swallowed back my nerves and carefully crept down into the darkness. Maybe I should have called out to Sabrina, but something told me not to. Why was she down here? Didn't she tell us that she wanted to make more tea? I managed to reach the bottom of the stair and peeked around the corner. There I saw her kneeling by lamplight in front of a large cage. A basket of the strange plants sat beside her. There, it's all right. Take a good sniff at the cup. We need to hurry, okay? I know that he's growing another one. I know he sent one after their parents. I'll avenge them and get rid of my biggest rival in one go. She held Frederick's cups to the bar. Something in her voice disturbed me. Whatever was going on, I wanted no part of it. I returned to the living room as quietly as I could. There you are. All ready to go? Upon hearing Frederick's loud voice, I jumped. What I had seen in the basement had made me anxious. I took a quick look around and saw that May was already gone. Sure, I'm ready. Leaving already? I just made some more tea. I turned to see Sabrina standing in the living room entrance with a practiced smile. Sorry, dear. I'm just not young enough to stay out like we used to. She put on a playful pout. Oh, you do wound me. Come by again. You know you're welcome any time. We bid our farewells and set out into the cold night. I was glad to leave. What I'd seen was still nagging on my mind. Frederick might be in danger. I had to tell him. I hesitated. How was I supposed to tell him when I myself wasn't sure what I had seen? But I collected myself and went for it. To my surprise, he wasn't nearly as upset as Sabrina as I thought he would be. He actually seemed to be more upset at me. I think you should not have snooped around in the house of someone who invited you over. I was left perplexed. What had just happened? I thought I was warning him, but instead I'd been scolded like a child. His face relaxed and he gave me his usual smile. It seemed slightly pained this time. I suppose there's been no harm done. Perhaps he just didn't believe me. I couldn't blame him. I noticed more and more vacant houses as we crept through town. Some were boarded up. Doors had been left wide open. Why are there so many empty houses here? These houses have been vacant for a while now. I was sure that I had passed by here earlier, but I didn't notice any abandoned buildings back then. An uneasy feeling started to fester inside of me. Here we are. We stopped before a house that looked much like every other house in this town. He stepped inside. I hesitated at the entrance before tailing behind him. Come on in, no need to be shy. Do you want something to drink? No, thanks. Frederick hesitantly grunted and led me down the hallway. I only wanted to use the phone and get out. Everything that happened today had me on edge. But what if I still couldn't reach anyone? Where would I go? I was balancing a fine line between hope and despair. The phone call would be what would topple me in either direction. Alright, here you are. The phone seemed rather old-fashioned, but at least it had buttons instead of a rotary dial. I picked up the receiver and tried a number. Am I doing something wrong? There's no dial tone. Huh? Let me see. He took the receiver from my hand and pressed a few buttons. He let a disappointment sigh. Not again. Those damn rodents keep getting to my cables. I'll go take a look at it. Feel free to make yourself at home. In case you get thirsty, he fetched a small bottle of soda from the kitchen and gave it to me and went into the basement. It seemed like I wouldn't be able to leave quite so soon. Once I held the drink in my hand, I did start to get thirsty. I took a sip and thought about what to do next. Okay, let's go. We'll go and stay here and wait for now. And then we'll do the other one. I didn't think he would be happy with me poking around, especially considering how he felt after I told him about what I saw at Sabrina's house. Not wanting to test his kindness, I waited. Why do I feel like I'm gonna die now because of this? Alright, it's all done. I jumped. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. No, it's fine. That went faster than I expected. Good thing I decided against snooping around. The phone should be working now. Feel free to give it a try. I'll give you some space. Call me when you're done. He took the bottle I had drunk from earlier and left through the hallway. I had an odd sense of deja vu. I shook it off and started dialing some numbers. They were the same that I already tried on May's mobile phone. Once again, they failed to connect. How could that be? I was 100% certain they were correct. I tried all the numbers of friends, families, and even work colleagues I could think of until finally... Yes, hello? It was a woman's voice that I didn't recognize. I was certain that I had dialed the number of one of my colleagues. Excuse me, isn't this Tom's telephone number? I don't know who that is. Are you another scam caller? Don't call me again. She hung up. Alright, something was definitely wrong here. It might be best to talk to Frederick and see if he could help me somehow. Maybe he had a clue as to how I could get back home. I crept down the hallway. He went this way, right? I began to hear some murmuring. A steady chill ran down my back. The sound was coming from the basement. The old floorboards squealed beneath my toes. I saw flickers of a weak light coming down the steps. I took them as gently as I could as I held a hand over my mouth to quiet my breath. I reached the bottom and turned a corner. Frederick knelt before a big cage, a small lamp next to him, and held something up to the bars. He hissed to whatever was inside. Yes, you have the scent now, don't you? We must take care of this one tonight. He's curious. He will find the secret much faster than the others. No, we can't have him make something like you, too. It's kill or be killed in this town. My stomach dropped out from underneath me as I heard the horrible scraping from inside the cage. I took a step back, bumping into a wall. Before I could react, I had accidentally switched on the main light. The sudden flood of white blinded me for a moment. Once my eyes adjusted, the first thing I saw was it. Uh-oh, is you going to die? It's true. If I was in such a situation, I'd be screwed because I don't know a single phone number anymore. That's also true. Same. Oh god, look at the dog! Frederick was screaming at me, but I could barely think about him. I couldn't look away from that creature. It was cowering inside a dirty cage that seemed to be too small for it. It had features of a dog, but I could also see some elements that were distinctly human-like. Its mouth was way too big, and the inside of it was filled with this seemingly random set of teeth, or at least something that resembled teeth. Worst of all, though, was the enormous eyes staring right back at me. Frederick fumbled with the lock on the cage. My feet finally began to move. I ran out of the house and into the streets. All the while, one thought was frantically running through my head. I had to get out. I had to get away from this demented town. With this thought clouding my mind, I had realized that I had exited town already. I was now on a big grassy plain. Breathing heavily and with fear flooding my mind, I had almost not noticed how heavy my legs had become. Soon I was struggling to stay on my feet, and my vision slowly darkened from exhaustion and panic. I wanted to look back to see how close the monster was, but I was too afraid of seeing it right behind me. I gathered my courage and quickly glanced behind me, and, to my surprise, the thing wasn't following me. I didn't know if it had ever followed me in the first place, but it seemed like Frederick wanted to send it after me, to kill me. Realizing that I was safe for now, I stopped. My legs were numb and I almost gave in, but I managed to keep standing. I couldn't believe what I had just seen. It couldn't have been real. Every inch of my body repulsed the idea of such a monster existing, but I had seen it with my own 2 eyes. I continued on, at a slower pace this time, and soon came to a small but quickly flowing river. It wasn't a good night to get my clothes wet, but it looked small enough for me to jump over with a running start. I wasn't the athletic type, but I managed to leap over the gap. Suddenly, my feet staggered. A wave of fatigue came over me, as if I had stepped into a veil. The air had gotten heavier, my breathing became more ragged. I clutched my chest and I tried to figure out what was going on. A throbbing pain pulsated through my back. It was as if something had stabbed me. My feet gave in and my vision darkened. I could feel a presence near me. The monster? Frederick? Before I could find out, my consciousness had faded. Who stabbed me? Who stabbed me? Okay. Okay, let's go back in. Honestly, right, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking, like, realistically, there is no way to actually escape. I have died 40 times! Okay. Okay, I was like, can you let me click here? Okay, yeah, so we're not gonna eat it. We're gonna go in like normal. And this time we're gonna take a look around his apartment. Okay, what should I check out? Check the study, living room pictures. So check the pictures. I took a look at the pictures hanging in the wall. There weren't too many, but he seemed to be pretty cheerful in all of them, especially the ones with his dog. For some reason, I hadn't seen it around. Nothing else caught my eye. Okay. Check the living room. It was It was only one room over. Suddenly, surely he wouldn't mind. He said I should feel at home after all. The living room was minimalistic and unimpressive. A TV stood in the corner gathering dust. His bookshelf was well maintained on the other hand. I looked over the books and he seemed pretty interested in biology. I'd love to chat with him about his field sometimes, once I get out of this mess. I chose a random book without a cover and opened it. It seemed to be a handwritten notebook. I quickly shut it to recheck the title. It seemed like I had pulled out a fantasy book instead of notes on biology. Evolutionary Development, Intersections Between Botany and Zoology. That would be a rather weird name for a fantasy novel, but the depictions on the pages confirmed it being fiction. The pages showed drawings of creatures that I'd never seen before, accompanied by detailed graphs and diagrams. I returned the book and went back into the hall. Alright, it's done. I jumped. Good thing he didn't catch me snooping around. Okay, then it plays out the same. Okay, so now we gotta go into the study. Okay, and then after the study, then we can go the other option of not going into the house at all. I'm so happy that the game has like a speed through option though. Don't eat. Ask for help. Okay, take a look around. Study. Entering Frederick's study felt like I was crossing a line. After all, he had invited me to his home and was trying to help me, but my curiosity overwhelmed me. I was wondering what that thing in Sabrina's basement was, and maybe I could find answers here. I took a look at the table to see what he was working on. I flipped over a picture frame and an open journal grabbed my attention. I decided to sneak a peek at the picture and was surprised to find a photograph of Sabrina and Frederick. They looked older than in the picture that I had seen at Sabrina's place. It depicted them in a park as they were having a picnic. A canvas was set up nearby. Why was it lying around face down? Perhaps he just hadn't had time to hang it up yet. I turned my attention to the journal. His writing was messy, but I could probably be able to decipher it with some effort. What should I do? Oh god, there's 3. Okay. Read. I decided against taking the journal. Reading it was bad enough, but it was a lesser evil. I have a feeling that other people have found out what the plants can be used for. They must be developing their own pets in secret. I'll have to keep growing my own and hope that I'm faster, better than they are. I should be okay as long as I avoid having anything of mine at someone's home. They can only do something to me if they have my scent after all. I set the journal back down. Now I knew that he was a fantasy writer. That's the only way I could explain what this was about, especially the terrifying sketches that accompanied the text were something straight out of horror fiction. With doubts gnawing on my mind, I made my way back to the telephone. Okay. So that plays out the same also. So we got 2 more options with the study and the book. Okay. Don't eat. Ask for help. I take a look, check the study. Take the book. Normally I wouldn't steal, but this couldn't be further from a normal situation. I had no idea when he'd come back and how much time I had to read it. As I picked out the book, something fell out. I was startled by the sound and froze. Slowly I picked it up and curiously took a look at it. It was a small key, possibly for a mailbox or a drawer. While wondering about where the key would fit, I heard approaching footsteps. My heartbeat accelerated. In a panic, I hastily put the key and the notebook into my pockets while quickly exiting the room. Alright, it's all done. I jumped. Okay. Now it changes a bit after we grab the key. Okay, so let's go with take a break. I should really take a quick break to make sure that I wouldn't collapse along the way, so I sat down for a bit and kept the lookout for the monster. After catching my breath, I suddenly remembered the journal. Maybe this would be a good time to take another peek inside. Read it. A small peek wouldn't hurt. I might find some clue as to what that thing was. I opened it to the very beginning and began to read. I discovered the cause of the pet disturbances. No one is stealing or killing them. They just changed. I installed a GPS chip on my own dog and followed it around to see what was going on. Eventually, I found it eating one of those odd-looking plants. I tried to stop it, but it growled at me and never had seen it act that way before. There was nothing I could do but let it finish. I took one of those plants with me to study it. Not too long after, I noticed that my dog had changed. It was a bit bigger and its hair was falling out in great quantities. It also started to bark at me, seemingly for no reason. I tried a bit of the plant myself, hoping to see what was drawn to it, but I found the taste nearly unbearable. I set the journal down. I thought I had just heard a sound. I jerked my head around me to find the source. There was nothing. Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe it was time to keep moving. Continue reading? Yeah. I awoke the next day to a piercing pain in my left arm. At first I was horrified to find that it was entirely bent out of shape, but something inside me suppressed my fear. I calmly stood to fix it. At first I thought about getting rid of it, but the pain had already subsided. I let it flatten by beating it with a hammer. I had lost all feeling in the limb by that point. What will people think if I went out with a bent arm? I began to look for my dog. The first thing I found were large animal footprints, much too large for its paws. The kitchen had been torn apart, and strange hair littered the whole house. Then I found it, or at least something that was once my dog. I could still see the resemblance, but most of its hair had fallen out, and its jaw was dislocated. It began to growl as soon as it saw me. Shortly after, it jumped on me with no provocation. It was hard to keep off with just one hand, but its teeth had fallen out, making it nearly harmless. I managed to knock it out and lock it up in the basement. Now I definitely had heard something. I felt uneasy about this, but I didn't want to stop reading. I felt so close to figuring out something crucial. Continue reading? Yes. A little more couldn't hurt. I couldn't see any sign of the monster anywhere. I should be fine. Alright, where was I? I froze up. There was definitely something near me, and it was close. Way too close. I could almost feel its ragged breath on my skin. My heart was starting to race. My chest contracted to the point where I had difficulties breathing. Gory death. Yes, try again. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna take a break. We're gonna start with that. Okay, read a little bit. And then we're gonna move. Continue reading? No. It was way too risky. I should keep moving. Hell knows what that monster could do if it found me. I continued on at a slow-paced assignment, soon came to a small but quickly flowing river. It wasn't a good night to... Right, but then this happens no matter what. Okay, so then that makes you... You found key 1. Okay, so what do we do with the key? Okay. Right? Like, because you want to see what every outcome brings, right? Because now I'm like, okay, well, what's the key for? Well, that's what I'm wondering. Because outside of the options, to the outside area, I don't know what happens if we stay in the study and not touch the books. Because, I mean, we didn't do that option. So it's like, do we try that again, or move on to the take a look around town option? But I mean, it's not like we can't go back to this option also afterwards too. Try again just to be sure. Yeah? Okay. Let's go back in, ask for help. Okay, so take a look around. So when we go back into the study, the only option that we didn't touch here was leave the book alone. Because then, after we take the book, then the other stuff changes. So let's go with leave the book alone. I couldn't just peek at the journal of someone who had invited me to their home to help me. I decided to leave the study. Oh, see, then it just goes back to the usual stuff. So you have to take the book in order to progress to that other area. Yeah, the living room was just pictures, and then it just takes us back out. The study is the thing that we need. Outside of the other option. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the study, grab the book. That way we can go back to the lake area. We can try not taking a break at all and see if that changes anything there. Ask for help. Just to see. Take a look around. Check the study. Loki. So we're gonna take the book. Right, so then we leave. Okay, so here we're gonna try just running. Like, just continuing. Okay, so no, so this just goes right back to the closed part. Okay, so as soon as... Okay, so you have to read the book to get the key. Okay, so let's... Yeah, we found key 1. Okay. Okay, so explore the town now is, I think, the only other option for this story part. Okay, so we got the key. Let's go back and explore the town now. Because I wonder if the key also plays into the second story? Because we don't really know what the keys do yet either.
Oh my god, can you stop?
Loki!
Loki, stop. It's just Ember. Ember's just trying to make you mad, dude.
Okay, so don't eat. Take a look around. No one would open their door for a disheveled stranger. Instead of wasting my time going from house to house, I should take another look around town. I should be able to find a police station eventually. I picked a random direction and headed off, but I soon realized that finding a police station proved to be more difficult than expected. The streets were completely empty, meaning I couldn't ask anyone for directions, and the further I went, the more abandoned the apartment buildings looked. Did I wander into a deserted part of town by accident? The street looked oddly familiar, though. As I wandered through the dark alleyways, an odd feeling started to well up within me. It felt as if I was being watched. I took a look around. My eyes scanned the buildings, which were being barely illuminated by the dim streetlights. I spotted something at the entrance of an alleyway. It looked like a small figure. Whatever it was too dark to make out. My eyes were probably just playing tricks on me, but it must have been a garbage can or something, right? I tried to rationalize what I had seen and continued at a faster pace. Was I overreacting? There was one way to find out. I made a sharp turn away from the main street and abruptly stopped. If someone really was following me, then I would be able to ambush them as they entered this alleyway. I realized too late that they would have the advantage if they had a weapon with them. Someone was there. I braced myself. Right as they were about to turn into the alleyway, I jumped out, fists raised. The person gave a shriek and stumbled backwards, falling onto the floor. Just as I was about to question them why they were following me, I realized they weren't a threat. The person who had followed me was a small boy. He looked up at me, his eyes filled with fear. Why were you following me? I slowly unclenched my fists. I need help from my sister. Your sister? He seemed to realize that I wasn't planning to hurt him and slowly got up. Yeah, she's hurt. I was only following you to see if you were one of them. I had tons of questions, but if his sister was in danger, then my first priority should be helping her. Alright, show me where your sister is. His face brightened as he led me back down the way I just came from. Now that he knew that I wasn't trying to hurt him, he became quite talkative. I'm Lani, by the way. My sister's Amy. We are currently hiding from those pets in one of the abandoned houses. Have you seen one yet? They're really scary. His words were flowing out like a waterfall. As he made a short pause to breathe, I quickly interjected. What pets are you talking about, and what did you mean when you said I wasn't one of them? You really don't know? Well, I don't know how to explain it. He seemed to be deep in thought, but before he could elaborate, we had already arrived. Amy isn't here. We were standing in front of an old abandoned house. Several of the windows were broken. One of them was partly boarded up with wooden planks. Yeah, it's him. Lani stopped in the entryway. I was about to ask him what we were waiting for when he started whistling quietly. You summoning something, child? It was a slow and somber melody that reverberated through the empty halls of the building. The atmosphere it created sent shivers down my spine, and then it was over. Lenny stepped into the hallway and I followed quickly behind him. Seeing how stumped I was, he explained. It's something Amy and me agreed on. If she hears someone come in, she's supposed to run away unless I whistle this melody. Scary, right? I came up with it today pretty good, huh? The melody, Amy? The plan was alright, I guess, but it was Amy's. We made our way inside, walked up the stairs, and stopped in front of a dark room. Not far from the entrance, I could make out a shadowy figure sitting on the ground. Amy, it's me. I brought someone. Amy perked up as she heard her brother's voice. I quickly stepped inside and was about to rush to her side, but jerked back. Her arms. Oh! What happened? I had whispered it, but it seemed like Amy had heard me nevertheless. I ate a piece of the plants. Then my arms began to hurt, and now she broke off. How could eating a piece of a plant have caused this? This didn't make any sense, but I had more urgent things to do at the moment. Does one of you have a telephone? We need to call an ambulance. Lenny looked at me apologetically. There's no one at the hospital. They're all either dead or they're too obsessed with the pets. No one at the hospital? And he had mentioned those pets again. Just what the hell is going on here? Just as I was about to ask, I heard a thumping sound from within the house. Lenny jerked around, fear-stricken. Is it them? Amy's voice was weak. She was about to faint. Her arms must have been causing her a lot of pain. I'll check it out. You two stay here. I tried to sound confident, but my voice shook slightly. After what Lenny had told me, I couldn't help but feel scared. But as the only adult here, I had to be the one to protect them. And so I slowly made my way back down the stairs. Monstrous growl. I heard something yet again. It sounded vaguely like a growl. One that was oddly similar to the one I had heard while I was laying in the alleyway. Could it be one of those pets? As I reached the bottom of the stairs, I could vaguely make out some slight movement further down the hall. It was as if something was sniffing the air. I looked around to see if I could use anything as a weapon. There was indeed a wooden board lying on the ground near a window next to me. I carefully picked it up and gripped it tightly while inching closer and closer towards the creature. Weirdly enough, it seemed like it was ignoring me. As I was almost close enough to make out what it looked like, it perked up. I stopped. Time seemed to slow to a halt. A foul feeling slowly spread throughout my stomach. I lifted the board up a bit higher and readied myself to attack, and then it lunged. I closed my eyes and flayed the wooden plank in the general direction of the creature, but only hit empty air. It was over, I thought. I had missed it, now it would kill me, but nothing happened. All I heard was something scurrying up the stairs. I opened my eyes and whipped my head around towards the source of the sound, but the creature had already reached the top of the stairs, and then I heard a scream. It was Lonnie. I ran upstairs. Amy was still lying in the same spot, but it seemed like she had finally fallen unconscious. Next to her was a blood trail leading into another room. Lonnie couldn't have been. A sound of breaking bones and fleshy smacking leaked out of the room. I knew what was happening without having to see it. I lifted my weapon without even thinking and was just about to step closer to the room's entryway, but I stopped. There was no way I could fight whatever it was with a rotten wooden plank, and I couldn't save Lonnie anymore. It was too late. I needed to get out of here. No more importantly, I needed to get Amy out of here. There had to be someone out there who could help us. Lonnie's words echoed in my head, but he couldn't have been right. The police would do something about this, wouldn't they? Or the military? I was about to go back towards Amy, but a sudden wave of fatigue came over me. It was as if I had stepped into a veil. The air had gotten heavier and my breathing became more ragged. Because that's the horror of it, right? Whoever's normal, there's literally like no escape, right? Okay, so we I could feel a presence near me. Was it the monster? Before I could find out, my consciousness faded. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the only option with pets. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do for now, because we're running out of time, we'll go right to the last story. That way we can finalize as much as possible. And then if we have time, then we'll jump back to figure out where the key goes. I've heard about that one, but I haven't played it yet. Okay, so the third story. Trapped. Oh, there's the doggo. I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare. Seems like I just had a nightmare. I was chased by some kind of animal or monster, and there was some eerie plant. I had forgotten most of the dream, but I knew it must have been terrifying. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. I took deep breaths and kept mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. But what I saw when I opened the bedroom door was not what I had expected. Instead of the living room that I had entered the bedroom through, I found myself in the middle of a long hallway. A row of doors interspersed with handrails covered each wall. I could hear people chatting in the distance. Where was I? And how did I get here? This place looked like a hotel at first glance. A plate with a room number was hanging next to all the doors. Mine was 215. As I moved towards the end of the hallway, I took a more thorough look at my surroundings. The floor was lined with a red carpet featuring an elaborate design. The red and white walls complemented the elegant atmosphere. On the ceiling hung electrical lamps that were similar in design to candles. As I stepped out of the hallway, I was momentarily blinded by the bright ambience. A huge chandelier was hanging on the ceiling of the grand hall I'd stepped into. It seemed to be on the upper floor of this two-floor structure. The ground floor, apparently a restaurant area, was lined with tables. Multiple people were dining and happily chatting with each other. A huge window across from me showed a big body of water. Was I in a hotel by the beach? The water looked oddly close. I needed answers. Quickly, I located the stairs and hurried down towards the restaurant. Luckily, one of the waiters was just passing by as I reached the bottom. "Excuse me, could you tell me where I am?" He answered without hesitation. "You're in the restaurant area, sir. If you'd like to order something, you need to... No, I mean this whole hotel." This time he did hesitate. "Well, you're on the Aesmatv cruise ship, if that's what you mean. Is everything in order?" "Cruise ship? How did I get on a cruise ship? Had I been kidnapped? Would my kidnappers let me walk around freely?" The waiter had a concerned look on his face. He glanced over at his colleagues, who had gestured to him with a stern expression on their face. "I could call someone over to help you, or you could find someone at the help desk just at the end of that hallway." He gestured back up the stairs and pointed at another hallway next to the one I had come out of. "Thank you, I'll just ask for more information at the help desk." I didn't want to hold him up any longer. The waiter's colleagues had by now crossed her arms in front of her chest and was tapping her foot impatiently. The waiter hesitantly nodded and turned away from me. A cruise ship? I don't remember ever booking a ticket for a cruise. But as I rummaged through my pockets, I did find a key card with the number 215 on it. Right, the help desk. I should be able to find out more there. I made my way back up the stairs. The room at the end of the second hallway looked like a lounge area. It was filled with comfortable sofas and armchairs. Multiple groups of people were chatting to each other. I could see children playing near what I assumed to be the help desk. I quickly approached the man standing at the desk, who perked up from the documents he was browsing. "Hi, how can I help you?" "I'm a bit lost. Well, I don't really remember booking a cruise. Is there a way to get off early?" He looked at me with a similarly puzzled expression as the waiter. Could you tell me your room number?" "Yes, it's 215, but I don't really remember booking it." I took out my keycard and showed it to him. The man opened the drawer and started expertly flipping through the folders. Shortly after, he pulled out a document. "Is this your name and signature?" He turned so that I could see it. To my surprise, the name and signature written on it were indeed mine. But how could I forget signing up for a cruise? As for your second question, we're currently on the last day of our trip. The ship will arrive at the Aesmatv port tomorrow at noon. Are you here with anyone? He threw a skeptical look my way. I must have sounded like a weirdo. "No, I'm all alone. I'm just sort of things out tomorrow then." The employee shrugged and put the folder back into the drawer. "Don't hesitate to let me know if you need any more help." I turned around wondering what my next course of action should be when... Ow. Something had hit one of my legs hard. I stumbled but managed to stop my fall by holding onto the help desk. "Oh god, are you okay, Lonnie? You need to pay more attention." I looked up to see what had hit me. Initially, I had assumed that I had walked into some piece of furniture, but that wasn't the case. A boy was sitting on the ground in front of me. Someone was standing over him, making sure that he was all right. As soon as she had confirmed that he wasn't hurt, she turned to me. "I'm very sorry about that. Are you hurt anywhere?" "Lonnie, make sure to apologize." "Sorry, I wasn't looking." No, it's alright. I'm okay. I turned to the boy named Lonnie. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, it's nothing." His look was fixated to the ground. Or fixed. It seemed like he really did feel bad about bumping into me. The woman had in the meanwhile fixed her gaze onto my face. "Are you sure you're alright? You look rather pale." No, I'm fine." That didn't seem to convince her. My confusion and frustration about being on this boat had shown on my face. "Would you like to sit down with us for a bit? I have some medicine against seasickness. It might help." Now that she was mentioning it, I was feeling a bit woozy. I had been too preoccupied with figuring out what was going on to notice. She led me to one of those sofas, motioned me to sit down. "My name's Sabrina, by the way. This boy here is Lonnie, and the girl over there is Amy." She motioned to a girl sitting at the table nearby who was brooding over a piece of paper. "My name is Scott. So are they your family?" Sabrina stopped rummaging through her handbag and looked at me with an amused smile on her face. "Oh no, they are my neighbor's kids. We're good friends and I paint with their children sometimes. I'm currently looking after them." While Sabrina was still looking for the medicine, Lonnie approached his sister and peered over her shoulder. He then grimaced and walked over to our sofa to take a seat next to Sabrina. "Here you go." She handed me a pill from a small bottle. Out of the corner of my eyes, I saw Lonnie motion to Amy. I don't get how she can be so into drawing. It's boring. She's been at it for at least half an hour and it still looks terrible. Hey, I heard that. Amy shot an angry gaze at Lonnie. Good art needs time. Maybe you should work on some art as well. Yeah, maybe it'd help with your hyperactivity. I'm not hyperactive, I'm just healthy. That's what Dad says. I guess so. If I had any ounce of knowledge about music, I could help you relieve your energy that way at least. Though it's been a while since my art. Sabrina trailed off with a sad look on her face. Don't worry, it's okay. I've been figuring things out on my own. I've been asking Dad and Mom if they can buy me a melodica. I'm pretty sure I'll get one soon. You two really seem to have a knack for art and music. Your parents must be proud of you. I don't know about Amy, but I'm sure they're proud of me. Amy shot another angry glance Lonnie's way, but didn't retort. She seemed to be the mature of one in their sibling relationship. Hey, do you have any more of those pills? I jumped slightly, a voice had called out from right behind me. As I turned around, I saw a grumpy-looking man. Sabrina grabbed her handbag once again. Another one, Frederick? It says on the package that one should be enough. Apparently not. I can't work while feeling like crap. Why did I agree to go on this trip? Sabrina gave him a skeptical look, but handed him a pill without saying anything. Frederick turned around on the spot and trotted off. Sabrina sighed. Sorry about that. He's usually more pleasant. The seasickness must be getting to him. That coupled with an upcoming deadline for an article. So he's a journalist? No, that's not what I meant. He's a biologist and has been working hard on getting something published in that one magazine. If you ask me, his obsession with getting more publications is a bit unhealthy. A fellow scientist, now that I thought about it, I hadn't written anything in a while myself. Way more pressing matters had taken up my time recently. The spores were still... I jolted up. Sabrina looked at me in surprise. Thank you for the medicine. I feel better now. I should keep going, though. I was too anxious to sit still, even though I knew that there was nothing I could do until the ship came into port the next day. Alright, take care. Feel free to let me know if you need any more medicine. I thanked her again and said goodbye to the siblings and headed back towards the sleeping quarters. But I stopped just before the hallway that led to my room. My eyes wandered towards the big window. The sun had started to set, but I didn't feel tired at all. Likely because I had woken up just recently. And so I decided that the best way to dispel some of my anxiety was to take in some fresh air. I continued on past the hallway and out onto the deck. A salty breeze hit my face and I could hear the soft splashing of waves against the hull of the ship. This place was way emptier than I had expected. Less than a handful of couples and some families were standing near the edge of the railing. One of those couples had their dog with them. Every now and then, when I heard the call of the seagull, it jerked its head around. Were one of the pairs on this deck perhaps Amy and Lonnie's parents? Absent-mindedly, I approached the railing right by the door and looked over. We were very high up. Looking down at the waves hitting the ship hull had an eerily hypnotic effect. Combined with the cool air and the sound of water, it calmed me down. Hey! I jerked up. Someone was standing on the railing next to me. Sorry, I didn't mean to surprise you. No worries, it's okay. It looked like she had been standing there for a while. Did I somehow overlook her? You looked a bit confused, so I wanted to ask if you were alright. Yo, she's so sus! Well, I guess I am a bit lost. I had a feeling she'd be more understanding than the employee, so I decided not to tell her too much. I'm a bit lost too. It might sound weird, but I'm not sure how I ended up here. Wait, that sounded oddly familiar to my situation, but she seemed to misinterpret the surprised look. I know it sounds odd, it's just like in dreams. Whenever you try to remember how you got to the place you are dreaming about, you can't. So I wasn't the only one. There was someone else here who was experiencing the same thing I was. Knowing this lifted my spirits. Just as I was about to tell her about my situation, she suddenly perked up. Sorry, I should go. I promised to meet someone. And with that, she hurried off before I could say anything. Never trust a lost child. Run! Agreed. I was slightly frustrated by the fact that I hadn't been able to confide in her, but I could seek her out tomorrow, I guess. The sun had meanwhile almost set. A blood-red strip was visible on the horizon. I set off back towards my room. With nothing better to do, I got into bed and tried to sleep. My night was restless. Half of the time I wasn't sure if I was awake or asleep. Weird sounds kept waking me up. By the time the sun had risen, I felt like I had barely slept at all. Today would be the day we'd arrive at a place called Kijahim. From there, I should be able to get back home one way or another. I rubbed my eyes as I opened the door and led out into the hallway, but something was wrong. The hallway looked different. Was it shorter? There definitely used to be more doors here. It was as if a new wall and door had appeared where the hallway originally continued to the restaurant area. Some progress, right? I approached the new door and tried to turn the doorknob, but it was locked. Slowly, panic set in. Was I trapped in here? Did everyone already leave? Was there no way they had left me behind, right? I quickly approached one of the doors in the hallway and knocked. Silence. I tried the next and the third, all silent. My heart rate accelerated. I forced myself to calm down and think this through. There was no way they would leave a passenger behind, and even if they did, they would know sooner or later that I was still in here. The most productive thing to do right now would be checking if the other rooms were open. Maybe I could find a way to make people aware of the fact that I was still in here. I considered which door to try first. Okay, so let's start with room 1. The room was unfurnished and windowless. A sole light bulb in the middle of the ceiling illuminated it faintly. I could see about 15 people sitting on the dirty ground. Most of them seemed to be adults, but there was a couple of children cowering next to what I assumed to be their parents. One person from the group, an older man, raised his head as if waking up from a dream. The door! It's open! More of my people lifted their heads up and I could feel their stares piercing me. The man was the first to stand up and shuffle towards the door. I stepped aside, but as he tried to cross the threshold, he suddenly stopped. He was frozen in midair, his fingers tightened as if he was exerting great effort. Disappointed, he stepped back. It's no use. He sulked back to his spot and slumped to the floor. The other people in the room lowered their heads, their hopes dashed in an instant. I wasn't sure what was going on, but it was evident that they were in trouble. I quickly walked up to the older man. Hey, do you know what's going on here? No, we all woke up in this room and are unable to leave. And now it seems like you're stuck here with us as well. My heart stopped for a second and panic slowly started to set in. Was I really trapped in here? I hastily walked to the door and stepped right through. The man stared at me with wide eyes. This means that you, instead of the girl, might be able to help us. Right after he uttered those words, some of the people in the room lifted their heads and looked at me. Some with a look of disbelief and some with hope in their eyes. So there was someone else on the ship who could enter and exit this room freely? What did she look like? He started explaining. I soon realized that this description fit someone I knew. It sounds like the girl I'd met on the deck yesterday, so she got into this mess as well. We asked her to help us, but she just laughed and left. That wasn't quite how I remembered her, but it wasn't like I'd known her for a long time. Was her nice appearance just an act? I shifted my attention back to the man before me. There might be people behind the other doors that could possibly help. Please let me know if you have anything that you don't need or if you are in need of something. That way I can make sure that everyone gets out of here safely. Some people nodded in agreement while the majority stayed stoic. A woman stood up, got something from a shelf, and approached me. We found some medicine in this room. We can't give away all of it, but maybe it will help someone. The label is barely legible. I could make the letters out. Fun-ite. I still gladly took the bottle and thanked her as she trotted back. Please, if you find any food, bring it to us. Alright, I should head out, but I'll let you know if I find anything. With these words, I stepped back through the door. It closed behind me as if a wind gust had suddenly blown through the hallway. Which room should I go into? So we'll go in room 2. The door creaked open and a light spilled into the damp room. A crowd of about 40 people occupied the space. Some were sitting on the floor and some were leaning against the dirty walls. Suddenly, someone near the door darted up and shoved me aside. It was Frederick, who I'd met only briefly while I was chatting with Sabrina. He tried to force himself through the door, but was stopped midair. An invisible force was pushing him back. Some more people approached the door and tried the same, but to no avail. Damn it! Frederick slammed his fist into the wall. I thought this was my chance. Frustrated, he went back to where he was originally sitting. Since I had been in a room like this before, I knew that I was able to travel back and forth. Hey, a few of the people looked up as I started speaking. I should be able to walk in and out. There are also survivors in the other rooms. I might be able to get you some things if you need anything specific. Frederick shot up and walked up to me until he was way too close for comfort. We need food. You'll get some for us, right? That sounded more like a threat than a request. Yeah, I can do that if I find some. I stepped back so I didn't have to smell his sour sweat anymore. Do you happen to have anything in here that you don't need? Just in case other people trapped on the ship need anything specific? He looked at me as if I had just made a joke. What? No, even if we had anything, we wouldn't just be giving it away. I looked at him skeptically. Alright, I know what you want. I have a gun with me. If you bring me food, I'll trade it for the gun. A gun? I'd never used a firearm before, and I wasn't sure how a gun would help me in this situation. Hesitantly, I agreed to escape Frederick's impatient gaze. Maybe it would come in handy after all. But you'll have to make sure to share the food with the others. Alright, whatever. Just give us something, alright? I don't have anything with me right now, sorry. Then get the hell out of here and find something. He shouted at me and shoved me out of the room. I tripped and fell to the floor as he slammed the door shut in my face. That guy was a huge jackass, but I still felt bad for the other people in the room. I'd have to go back there eventually if I wanted to help them. I dusted myself off and turned towards the other doors. Agreed? Okay, room 3. I entered the dimly lit room. It was desolate except for a few cans of food and a few water bottles in one of the corners. There was also 2 rather young children, one boy and one girl in the middle of the room. As I saw the girl kneeling over the boy's motionless body, my heart dropped. It was Amy and Lonnie. She looked up at me with pleading eyes as I rushed to their side. Lonnie was covered in sweat, indicating a heavy fever. His limbs were heavily bruised and I glanced over at Amy. Fortunately, she seemed to be alright. I'm Scott. We met yesterday. You're Amy, right? Yeah. Her voice was shaking. Lonnie is sick. Don't worry, Amy. We'll find a way to help him. She hesitantly nodded. That seemed to calm her down a bit. I had some medicine on me, or at least that's what the woman who gave it to me called it. I couldn't really read the label. Should I give it to Lonnie? Well, since we're going to be trying every option, right? Yes. Give him the medicine. It seemed like he would die if nothing was done. I decided to take the risk and administer the medicine to him. I have some medicine with me. He should be alright in no time if he takes this. I sounded more confident than I actually was in the hopes of cheering Amy up. I made sure that he was conscious enough to drink it, then I carefully lifted his head and put the bottle to his mouth. He slowly gulped it down and then I set his head back down. Will he be okay now? I think so, but it will take time for the medicine to take effect. All that was left to do was hope that I gave him would help against his fever. You seem to have some food and water here. Do you think I could take some of it with me? More people are trapped in here and they don't seem to have any. I don't mind. Thank you. She didn't seem very talkative, but that was to be expected considering how concerned about her brother she must be. I'll let you know once I find something that can help you, okay? Okay, she turned back towards her brother. I walked by the canned food and considered taking some with me. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, well, let's take a half. I decided to take part of it with me, that way they would still have some left. I left the room and found myself back in the hallway. Which room should I go into? Okay, so... we have the food, so we should go back to room 2 and get the gun. I do have food on me, maybe I could trade it for the weapon? Should I trade the food with Frederick? Yes, give me the weapon. I decided to give the food to Frederick. It was probably a good idea to have a weapon with me in case I run into something out there. I have some food with me, I can give it to you and you can share it with the others. Frederick took a quick look around as if to make sure that no one was watching. Then he took a gun from his pocket. Here, take it quickly, but don't tell anyone you gave me this, okay? I was definitely not okay with keeping the food a secret and was about to protest, but he had already taken the food and shoved me out of the door into the hallway. He threw the gun at my feet and slammed the door shut. What a jerk, I thought. Well, at least I had the gun now. I'd never really used one before, but I've seen my fair share of crime movies, so I was certain that it would work out somehow. How hard could shooting a gun be, right? I checked the magazine to see how many bullets were in it. It was empty. Of course it was empty. That's why he had handed it over so easily. Otherwise he could have threatened me with it instead of trading it in. How could I have been fooled so easily? Frustrated, I put it away and turned towards the other doors. Suddenly I felt the floor beneath me vibrate with increasing intensity. What was happening? An earthquake? The intensity of the rumbling increased, and soon I was thrown from side to side. I struggled to stabilize myself, but ultimately failed. My back hit the wall hard and I fell to the ground. I rolled into a ball trying to protect my head as I slid along the floor. The sound of metal breaking apart filled my ears. It was deafening, and then it stopped just as suddenly as it had started. I stayed in a fetal position for a while longer, fearing that everything would start shaking again, but it seemed like it was finally over. Were the people inside the rooms all right? Had we perhaps run ashore? Would someone come and rescue us now that we were on land? A myriad of questions filled my mind. My eyes fell on the locked door of the hallway. Something about it was off. It was barely noticeable, but it seemed like the door was slightly skewed. I quickly approached it, turning the door and pulled on it. It was still stuck, but it did feel like I would be able to pry it open with more force. And so I tugged again and again. Each time the door was inching more and more open until the door flew open and I was thrown back. A strong gust of wind hit my face. I reflexively closed my eyes. I celebrated internally. Finally, I would be able to get out of here and look for help. Finally, this nightmare would end. But I was mistaken. What I expected to see beyond the door was the hall and restaurant from the day before, but my expectations were utterly betrayed. The ocean, a huge body of water, was in the distance. As I looked down, I saw that we were hundreds of meters above ground. How were we on moving land? What shocked me the most was that I could make out thin, long legs supporting the ship. Their movements were so smooth that I felt like we were floating. It was as if I was inside something that was alive. My eyes wandered across the rest of the ship below me. It must have broken in half. The form of the tear was quite odd, though. It looked like a huge bite mark, as if something even bigger than this cruise ship had ripped into it. But that couldn't be true. There was no animal big enough that could have bitten off such a huge chunk of the ship. As the creature I was on made a sharp turn, the ocean drifted out of view. My grip on the doorframe tightened. I feared I would get thrown off. Then it stopped. My eyes widened in shock as I saw the scene before me. The view was surreal. Oh, God. One single town was standing in the middle of a wasteland. Wandering through that wasteland was enormous, outlandish creatures among gigantic mushrooms. They looked like something straight out of a nightmare. I whipped my eyes trying to dispel the illusion before me, but it wouldn't go away. My breathing became ragged and my chest contracted painfully. I had to accept this as my reality. In a trance, I stepped away from the doorframe. A wave of rage overcame me as I lashed out and kicked the wall. A dull pain spread through my foot, but I barely noticed it. Tears started to well up in my eyes. Right? Was there even any reason for me to go on? Why shouldn't I just go back to my room, lie down in my bed, and stay there? I leaned against the wall and stared at the ceiling. My feet were shaking, but I was finally starting to calm down. I knew that getting angry wouldn't help. What I was seeing wasn't logical in any way. It went against everything I knew. I was a scientist, so not being able to understand this place frustrated me. Above all, it scared me. But giving up wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't the logical choice if I really wanted this nightmare to end. I'd escape sooner or later and get myself into a better position eventually. That's what I hoped, at least. The ship may still be suspended high above ground, but there must be some way to get down. I would figure out what to do next once I was out of here. I closed the door and slowly let my eyes drift over the 4 doors in front of me. So let's enter room 4. The room seemed to be empty except for a lonely light bulb hanging from the ceiling. It didn't seem to be working properly as it barely gave off any light and flickered every now and then. It took my eyes a while to get adjusted to the darkness, and right as they did, I realized that the room wasn't actually as empty as I had thought. A huge dog that I hadn't seen right away because of the poor lighting was just a few feet in front of me, and it was determined to rip me into pieces. I hastily stumbled backwards, almost tripping. This was it, I thought. I was going to get mauled. But nothing happened. All I could hear was the rattling of a chain. I slowly opened my eyes and saw that the dog was fortunately chained to the wall. It was vehemently struggling to get free. After confirming that there was indeed no risk of it getting free, I took a closer look around the room. There were small glittering objects strewn across the ground next to the animal. Next to the dog was a body, a badly mutilated one. A foul feeling spread through my stomach. Did the dog do this? The corpse was lying too close to the dog to examine it. Instead, I cautiously inched closer to the object scattered on the ground next to it. I picked one up and examined it. It was a bullet. I had a gun with me, and if these bullets fit this model, then I would be able to use it. When I took another close look at the area behind the dog, I saw that there was an opening in the wall. It seemed to lead into another section of the ship. This was the first time since getting trapped in here that I had seen a possible escape route. The only problem was the furious animal blocking it. I had a gun and there were bullets next to the dog. Attack the dog using the gun. I don't like that option, but like I know we have to do it to get past the dog. But I mean, it's a monster dog, right? So I mean, it still counts, right? It's not like we're actually like killing a puppy dog. He's a monster. A monster doggy that eats humans. Right? Right? Is that a good justification? Right? Ugh. But it's a monster puppy that eats humans, and we can't go past it if we don't do it. Can we close our eyes and pretend we don't shoot the puppy? Sacrifices must be made for these awful people who I don't care about. I was more or less thinking for myself to escape. That's what I was thinking. Monster dog does whatever a monster does. It's true, though. Ugh. I think we have no choice. Okay, just close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. I quickly snatched up some of the bullets that were lying near the dog and loaded the gun. It felt rather heavy in my hands as I pointed it at the creature. The dog had stopped barking and was glaring at me with mad eyes. It was as if it knew what the object in my hand was for. My breath was getting heavier. My heartbeat accelerated. My finger twitched and sudden silence engulfed me. It was soon replaced by a high-pitched sound. I had secretly closed my eyes. I slowly opened them. A red puddle started tainting the area around the dog's corpse. I looked at the gun in my hands and a wave of disgust engulfed me. I forcefully threw it into the corner of the room. Immediately, I had started regretting what I had done to the animal. Cautiously, I stepped closer and watched it. I wanted to confirm whether it was really dead. Its body lay on the ground motionless. It was truly dead, without a doubt. I stepped over and walked towards the hole in the wall. What I had done weighed heavily on my conscience. How could you? I mean, I feel bad! I know, it was... The achievement was like, how could you? I stared into the hole. The hole stared back. Before I let the others know, I had to make sure that whatever was on the other side was safe. The hole was rather small and I had trouble fitting through, but I succeeded eventually. After a while, I noticed that something was off. The hole seemed to go on longer than it should. I expected to have already come out in the other part of the ship, but it just went on and on. The air suddenly got heavier and the breathing became more ragged. Oh! Okay. Okay, so the hole kills us. Okay, okay. Okay. many times does this make now? Never thought his presence would make such a huge difference. Seems like his use is nearing its end. No need to keep him around then. I wonder how long it'll take until I find another one. Letting it end like this would be quite boring, though. And he did interact with her quite a lot. Maybe I should do one last experiment. I'll send him off with a bang. He deserves it for helping me so much. Alright, time to go make preparations. What? What was that? My head felt like it was splitting open. What was I doing? Had I seen something in nightmare? No, it had been real, hadn't it? The pain was nearly unbearable. Images that seemed to have no relation to each other flashed through my mind. A plant, a dark room filled with people, distorted faces, an ocean. 2 children, a blood trail, a pack of cats, a knife, pain. My head felt as if it was about to burst, and then... It was over. The pain was gone. I steadied myself. The images I had seen, were they hallucinations or were they memories? My mind was all jumbled up. I called out as I left the bedroom. No one answered. I approached the front door. My hand touched the cold doorknob. Sweat started to form on my arm. Was I afraid? Of what? I swallowed hard. My hand finally moved and I turned the doorknob. As I stepped outside, I noticed that everything looked normal. My breathing slowed. I hadn't noticed how tense my body had become. I stepped into a narrow alleyway that seemed to be leading into a busier part of the town. It was bustling with life. Something about the people walking by was off, but it was hard to put a finger on it. It was too far away. I decided to avoid the main street for now and instead went in the other direction. My instincts told me that it was the right thing to do. Right as I turned into another alleyway, I saw something from the corner of my eyes. Had someone just entered one of the buildings? I hadn't turned my head quick enough. This brilliantly white structure seemed out of place amidst the gray houses that were lining the street. As I trotted closer, I noticed that it looked awfully familiar to the lab I had worked in. No, it was a lab. What was it doing here? I stood in front of it for a while, dumbfounded, but there was no mistaking it. This was my lab. The easiest way to make sure I was entering it. The interior looked exactly like I had remembered it. No one was at the reception, meaning no one to manually open the door, but I firmly still knew the passcode. I made my way upstairs and walked towards Section M. On the way, I tried to keep my eyes and ears peeled in case one of my colleagues was around, but the place seemed to be totally deserted. That wasn't the only thing that was bothering me, though. Everything was oddly clean. Most people would likely not think that this was something to be concerned about. The problem was that there was no way someone had been able to find the time to tidy up the lab. Not only had we lost a big part of our staff, no one was in the right mood to bother with keeping things clean. As I was contemplating what this might mean, I finally reached my destination, my office. The door was slightly ajar. Did someone break in? I cautiously opened it. The room was empty. My desk was gone. My file cabinets were gone. Even the wallpaper was gone. What had happened here? The only thing present was a single sheet of paper in the middle of the room. I hesitantly walked towards it. The door behind me suddenly slammed shut and I jerked around. Was it the wind or did someone slam it shut? But there was no door. I stood there in disbelief. Then I slowly turned around and looked back at the sheet of paper on the ground. My hands began to shake. The closer I got to the piece of paper, the worse the trembling became. I hesitantly let my eyes wander over the red writing. Thank you for participating in my experiments. We knew she was super sus! My. She killed me? Not all mysteries are solved yet. Okay. It's like, no! It was interesting that they didn't allow us to go right back to the boat right away, though. Okay. I mean, we're still technically not done. Come on. You know the sad part about this being a video game? Is that I actually want a physical copy of this book. Congratulations on finishing Mycorrhiza. I sincerely hope that you've enjoyed the experience. Before you are sent to the title screen, there are a few things that you should know. On the title screen, you'll notice a new menu called Extra. Within it, you will find post-game content and additional information about this game's story. You will also have the option to replay the intro and outro and view achievements. We have done our best to make Mycorrhiza as bug-free, typo-free, and enjoyable as possible, but you might still encounter some bugs or have suggestions on how to improve the game. If you do, then please don't hesitate to fill out our feedback form. You can also find a link to the form in the game's menu. You can get the soundtrack for free on Bandcamp. If anything new Mycorrhiza related happens, you'll hear about it on our Twitter. Ooh, they have a Twitter page, okay. Feel free to tweet us, add us if you create anything Mycorrhiza related, let's plays or fan arts. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah? Oh my god. Once again, thank you so much for sticking with us on this journey and have fun with discovering the extras. Okay, so extra, just really quickly. I shot awake, panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare. Seems like I just had a nightmare. I couldn't remember it anymore, but it must have been horrifying. Chills were still running down my spine. It was just a dream, just a nightmare, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one was here, even though the lights were on, was still nagging at the back of my mind. But I was more confident that I'd be able to find help now that it was daytime. I left the bedroom to try the doors just in case, but when I passed by the front door, I noticed a sheet of paper that was taped to it. The handwriting was very crude, but I was able to make out what it said. No escape. Had someone been in here while I was asleep, and what did they mean, no escape? I tugged on the door. It didn't budge. I tugged again and again and again, each time with increasing force. It didn't move an inch. Was I actually trapped in here? I quickly moved to the nearest window and tried to open it, but I couldn't. Just like the door, this window too didn't budge. It was as if it was painted on the wall. The same was true for the other windows. In my desperation, I picked up a chair and threw it at the glass, but nothing happened. It didn't even cause a visible scratch. This was madness. Had someone locked me in on purpose? How could I escape? I quickly went from door to door and tried them, and to my surprise, one opened. Did I not check every door properly yesterday, or did the person who was here before I woke up open it? This room looked like a study, a very small and empty study. The only notable objects were a desk and a computer. This desk had 4 drawers. Peeking at someone's private possessions didn't sit well with me, but this wasn't the time to think about that. I needed to find a way to escape. I tugged on one of the drawers, closed. There were keyholes in front of the drawers. I took another look below the desk and behind the computer, but there was nothing of note. This also meant that there was no phone here that I could use to call for help. But if this computer was connected to the internet, then I might be able to contact a colleague or friend. When I put my hand in my pockets out of habit, I felt something metallic brush my hand. My pockets had been empty the day before. I pulled out what was inside and realized that I was holding a small key that I didn't recognize. My puzzled look wandered towards the drawers. What should I examine? Okay, drawer 1. I slipped the key in and it fit. Actually, somehow had this drawer's key. Inside the drawer was an unassuming USB drive. I put it into one of the computer's USB slots. What should I examine? Drawer 2. The key did not fit. Okay. Drawer 3. There was no handle. Which would take forever without the proper tools, but this drawer might contain a way for me to escape. A spare house key, for example. I decided to work on dismantling the drawer while I wasn't investigating the rest of the room. You can't open the 4th drawer in this version of the game. Thank you for your patience. I like that. Okay. So anyway, so we got the USB drive, so computer. I switched the computer on and was greeted to a simplistic interface. Welcome, Maria. Mindos 3.1. That's cute. Hints to finding the keys, part 1. Every door has 1 key. The first door is the easiest. The 3rd door is the hardest. For the 3rd door, the order is important. Ah. It does sound way better than Windows, eh? View the next page if you are still having difficulties finding them. Okay, so we got the first key. Okay, so for the 3rd door, the order is important on how to get the key. Okay. So hints to finding the keys, part 2. Obtain the journal. Find the book at the last moment, which we did. Learn about their mother and then give her the food. So that's probably the boat one, I would assume. Our department was tasked with finding a cure for the recent outbreak, and I was appointed co-team lead to help with our insane workload. Since my partner will cover the logistical side of things, I can focus on research, experimentation, and choosing what to share with other departments. Dude, that's 18 pages I have to read? Holy crap. First, I'd like to summarize the subject. A new type of disease was discovered at an excavation site. It was simply named disease For sure. Because unknown Team D currently stationed on site for security and sample collection. The rest of us working in labs. Fuck. I can't speed read. Zaz had no symptoms at first, but eventually causes lightheadedness, which is strange since it keeps blood flowing to the head. Suddenly, victims fall into a coma. Their bodies decay, their neck regions hardens, presumably to prevent blood loss, and their brain mostly stays intact. Due to the disease's mysterious nature and transmissibility, we are forbidden to leave the quarantine zone. Those of us working on the cure here are especially at risk. The chance of contamination is high. Thanks to Team D, we now know that spore-like microorganisms are the most likely cause of Zaz. This confirms a prior theory about aerial transmission. Furthermore, we discovered that the heads from the excavation site are emitting more of them. I don't know how many of us are infected, but a recent victim of Zaz should start exhibiting its few symptoms any day now. Further testing is needed to learn how these microorganisms affect our bodies in such gruesome ways. If we can do that, we can find ways to fight back against Zaz. Ugh, this entire situation is giving me a headache. With all the information gathered by Team D, we were able to draft a rough plan for the cure's development. I'm hopeful that we can make it quickly before Zaz spreads beyond the local populace. Each team has set up sleeping quarters in and around the lab so that everyone can spend as much time as possible working on this. With some of us have gotten as little as 1 hour of sleep these past few nights, hopefully our sacrifices will be worth it. One variant of the cure is making steady progress, otherwise things have been generally slow. I fear the longer this takes, the more our morale will fall, especially as people within the quarantine zone fall victim to Zaz. A colleague of mine broke down when he heard that Zaz had traveled further than expected. His family lived in one of the newly affected quarantine zones. Team C also had problems with one of their scientists who got themselves banned from the research center. Apparently, she performed non-consensual experiments on people infected with Zaz. Due to the dire situation we're in, some might want to try extreme methods, but I agree that she went too far. Hopefully nothing similar happens here. For now, I think I need to lay down. One of our facilities branches created a reliable means of telling whether someone has Zaz before they fall into a coma. I've been given a prototype of the test, and I was curious enough to try it on myself. Unfortunately, it came back positive. I should have known, since I've been handling the spores daily. Not even following every possible precaution helped. How am I supposed to finish my research now? I'll just have to do it as quickly as possible. No one can know. This can't be all for nothing. The cure my team has been working on is almost complete. If I can, I'm going to try it on myself first, since it should wipe out any Zaz spores within any infected person. It's my only hope. At least this way, if something happens, no one else has to suffer from our short sight in this. I don't know how much time left, so I've been working on it nonstop. I don't want to try it on someone else without knowing, with 100% certainty that it works. If it does, it shouldn't affect uninfected people. We'll distribute it to everyone. If so, it's better to be safe than sorry. I don't want to think about what will happen to me if it's ineffective. Writing these logs is getting harder. Darkness sometimes creeps in on the edges of my vision. It's difficult to stand, and I feel like I'm moving through water. If this ends up being my last entry, then goodbye, everyone, and good luck. Okay. Okay, so these are like... Oh. Okay, those are the pictures that we've unlocked. I recently encountered an interesting species of plant, one that I had seen before. It had a rather large stem, which was dotted with countless tiny mushrooms. Botany isn't my specialty, so I took it to an old colleague of mine who knows the field. He couldn't make sense of it either. One thing I quickly observed is that animals, mainly mammals like cats and dogs, seem to be highly attracted to the plant. Most eat them, but some even refuse to eat anything but. My botanist colleague and I decided to keep looking into these plants and the animals who eat them, at least until we solved this mystery. Eventually, I was able to observe a drastic change in the animals that ate the plant. Their bodies deformed over time as they fed, and they became incredibly aggressive. Looking at them, they almost seemed to develop human or human-like features. I feared that I might be attacked at some point, so I locked up all of my test subjects in cages. They only ate the damn plants. I had to keep feeding them all plant diet, and it still disturbs me. They all started to look even more human. They also became far, far more dangerous. An ex-dog sniffed at my cloth botanist colleague left behind and became highly agitated. It broke out of its cage and raced outside to who knows where. I chased after it, of course, but it was already long gone. Needless to say, I reinforced the cages the other animals are being held in. Today is the day after that incident. I just received word that my colleague was found dead in his home, with a big blood puddle underneath him. A DNA test revealed that it wasn't his. The person who found him swore that a weird monster was lying right where the puddle was, but slowly dissolved. Obviously, no one believed her. My working hypothesis at this time is simple. These monsters can be used to seek out and kill someone, but they die immediately afterwards. While I mourn the loss of my colleague and friend, I need to continue our research. I have a feeling that other people have found out about the plants can be used for. They must be developing their own pets in secret. It won't go so smoothly. I'll have to keep growing my own and hope that I'm faster, better than they are. I should be okay as long as I avoid leaving anything of mine at someone's home. They can only do something if they have my scent after all. It's just too bad that those things die after only one use. Oh, that's like music? Okay, and then these ones we haven't unlocked yet. And then the achievements. So 10 out of 22 achievements. Good boy. You're a fun guy. Second key. So shut down the PC. I mean, go back to bed, I guess. We can't really do anything else, right? There was nothing here that could help me at the moment. Maybe I should lie back down and take a nap. Someone would find me eventually, right? There was no way I would be stuck here forever, right? Right? Okay. Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back here really quickly. I am happy that at least we finished the base game. Oh! Because we don't have the other keys, right? So we can't finish the rest of the PC stuff. Okay. So luckily I should be able to speed through like all of this. Okay, so I know they said the order of the room is important. So if we start with room 4 and then we leave and choose not to... Okay, we see the hole. The fierce animal blocking it. So I decided to retreat for now and look for a way to get past it without finding myself in danger. Okay, so let's go into room 3, which should be the room where the kids are. Do you think I can take some of it with me? Okay, so what we're gonna do now, this time... Okay. Let's take all of the food. I left the room and found myself back in the hallway. Which room should I get into? So let's go into room 1. There's a light bulb in the middle of the room. I can see about 15 people standing on the dirty ground. Most of them seem to be... Wait, we already did... Yeah, we could... Okay, so then they're going to give me the medicine, right? Okay, so she gave me this. I took the bottle, thanked her as she trotted back. Please, if you find any food, bring it to us. I do have some food on me. Should I give it to them? Sure. Let's give it to them. Here, have some cans with me. It's not much, but it should help you going for a bit. His eyes lit up. He thanked me vigorously. I couldn't help but smile. I felt like I'd given them some hope back after they had lost. Alright, I should head out. I'll let you know if I find anything. I stepped back through the door. It closed behind me as if a wind gusting had suddenly blown through the hallway. Okay, so we got that. So... If I go into room 2, then I could trade him for the gun, but then I could refuse to shoot the dog and leave. That way I give him the food also. Okay. Okay, so trade the food. It was probably a good idea to have the weapon in case. Okay, then we skip through all of this. So if I go back into room 4... Attack the dog? No, we're not going to attack the dog. I can find another way to get past it. In the end, I just couldn't think of a way to get around it, so I had no other choice but to simply retreat. Okay, so then... I glanced around the room. Fortunately, they seemed to be more or less okay. I approached them. Amy was still huddled over Lenny's body. His face was twisted with worry. His condition seemed to have worsened, which became more and more apparent as I got closer. Spots on his arms and limbs seemed to be bruised. Some kind of black ulcer similar to buds grew out some of them. I'm sure he wouldn't last longer without medicine. Okay, so let's give him the medicine. Okay. She looked a lot weaker. It could have been because I left them without food. No, it hadn't been that long. It probably was just fatigue and stress. I should get going again. I'll come back soon to check on you. Okay, please don't take too long because It was understandable that she didn't want to be left alone. She was likely exaggerating. I left the room and found myself back in the hallway. But... even though I had been away for long, everything seemed different. The faces of the people had darkened considerably. I spotted the old man that I talked to not long ago and approached him, but I didn't even look up as I greeted him. He just sat there with a blank expression on his face, not even moving an inch. Hey, is everything okay? No response. As I looked around, I noticed that none of the others had moved from their spot, nor had any of them looked up since I had entered the room. I tried to talk to them, but they wouldn't respond. It was as if they had suddenly turned into statues. Their eyes were devoid of any signs of life. I tried shaking them awake, but they didn't react. Hello, can anyone hear me? I cried out into the room in desperation, but my words echoed back emptily. What was going on? What had happened to them? Even though I was surrounded by people, I felt alone. I jerked my head around. I scanned the dim room with my eyes until I finally saw something in one of the corners. My heart started to race as I stepped closer. I couldn't quite make out what had made the sound, but it was probably a human, right? Grr. It made a gurgling sound, and I hesitated for a bit. Horrific images of all kinds of creatures popped into my mind. I shook my head and tried to get them out of my head. After a few more cautious steps, I was finally close enough to see it. It was a girl. No, it wasn't just some girl. It was the same girl that I had ran into on the deck. Her body was limp, but as opposed to the other people in this room, she seemed more or less conscious. I cautiously picked her up and made my way towards the door. The words of the old man echoed in my ears. He told me that she was able to pass through the door, just like I was. But why hadn't she left the room by herself? Did something happen that she got caught up in? How did she get here anyway? I wouldn't have noticed her in the hallway. I turned towards my room. I had a bed and probably would be safe there. Opening the door while carrying a person was no easy feat, but I finally succeeded and put her on the bed. Ha! Home. Her facial expression changed from one pain to one of relaxing. She instantly fell asleep. I debated whether I should wake her up and try to get information out of her, but it didn't seem like she was in any condition to answer questions. Seeing her asleep so soundly made me want to take a break as well, but I pushed myself out to step out of the room and back into the hallway. I still needed to see if there was any way to get out of here. Okay, let's go back. Room 2. The first thing I did after entering the room was taking a quick glance around to see if Frederick was nearby. To my determinant, he was. He jumped up as he saw me come in. Hey, we had a deal, remember? What are you talking about? You don't tell anyone about the food and I give you the gun. Don't be an ass and break our deal. He planted himself right in front of me, close enough for me to smell his breath. You gave me an unloaded gun, so that deal wasn't legitimate to begin with. So I never said that it was going to be loaded. You better get out of here now. He clenched his right fist. I was sure that he would actually punch me if I said another word. Realizing that I didn't get anything out of staying here, I stepped back into the hallway. Okay. I was just about to greet Amy, but then I realized she wasn't kneeling in her usual spot. My heart began to race. I started to assume the worst. I walked towards the middle of the room where her brother was lying. My eyes were still adjusting to the weak lighting, and there she was lying next to him. They both looked famished, as if they hadn't eaten in at least a week. How could this be? I wasn't gone for that long. Something must have happened while I wasn't here. I shouldn't have left them alone. Then all this wouldn't have... I could have stopped whatever did this to them, but it was too late. I approached them and checked both of their pulses. Nothing. I staggered backwards. There was nothing I could do for them anymore. With a heavy heart, I stumbled out of the room. Which room should I go into? Well, I mean, you did take all the food, dude. I'm just saying. So... what if I go back into room 1? I froze the moment I entered the room. I had seen some movement out of the corner of my eye, but when I turned my head, all I could see was a blank wall. I stepped further in, noticing a scratching sound, as if something was claimed at the wall, but I couldn't make out anything that could have been causing it. There was barely any movement at all. Everyone seemed too still to be frozen in place. I stood in the doorframe and strained my ears. It was getting louder. I considered leaving, but curiosity overcame me. Slowly, I stepped into the room. It was then that I saw someone who seemed to still be awake. Their slight twitching was barely noticeable in the dim light. I considered calling out to them, but something told me not to, and so I cautiously inched towards them. But the closer I got, the more apparent it became that something was off. I froze. Their head. It almost looked as if their face was melting off their bones. Their eyes were dark and hollow. I took a few hasty steps back, but they fortunately didn't seem to react to my presence at all. The scratching seemed to have gotten even louder. I noticed something lying on the floor not too far away from the person I had just checked on. I hesitated, but my fearful glances were answered with complete silence and lack of any movement. I was still safe, probably. I shifted towards the thing on the ground and slowly picked it up. It was a sheet of paper that looked like it was ripped from a diary or a log. If I was the leader of this operation, I'd fire anyone who let ethics get in the way. Sacrifices always need to be made to ensure humanity's future. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just continue my research in private, since it's not like there aren't enough subjects inside the zone. I couldn't make heads or tails of this note. I was missing too much context. The scratching got even louder. Something definitely was not right here. I should probably get out of here. I let my eyes wander over the room one last time and made my way back outside. Cute! Loki. Loki, come on. Just like after the dog instantly started barking, but one thing was different. Its barking seemed weaker than before. I slowly approached the part of the room where it was chained, but all I saw was a miserable creature. It was weakly lying on the ground, only able to bark and growl at me. I had no idea what had caused it to become like this, considering that I hadn't been gone that long. This might be my chance, I thought to myself. Loki! Stop. But as I approached the hole, the dog managed to snatch at me and almost bit me. Apparently it was still capable of hurting me in this state. I had a gun and there were bullets next to the dog. No. We're not gonna do that. There had to be a safer way. Okay. So if I go back to room 2... I heard a big ruckus coming from beyond the door as I opened it. This startled me as I almost slammed the door back shut. How did I not hear the commotion out in the hallway? People were screaming, punching, and kicking each other's hair. Others were smashing other people's heads against the walls. Everyone was doing their best to kill and not be killed. It was a horrible scene. As I stood there dumbfounded, I quickly realized what this was all about. People were fighting over food. Instead of sharing it, they decided to fight each other for it. Soon I couldn't differentiate the dead from the alive. As everyone was covered in blood, I watched in horror. Suddenly a brawling pair came dangerously close to me. I tried to dodge, but my back hit the doorframe and I was pushed out of the room as they slammed against me. I didn't think they even saw me, as they were too immersed in their fight. It seemed like the food shortage had driven them to insanity. Yeah. The door slammed shut and I was left alone out once again in the hallway. Hesitantly, I debated whether or not I should go back to them and try to break up the fight. I guess go back in? I felt uneasy about entering this room, but I had to find out what had happened to everyone here. With a foul feeling in my stomach, I stepped over the threshold. What I saw was way worse than anything I could have imagined. The stench was overwhelming. 40 lifeless, blood-covered bodies were lying on the floor. Somehow they had already started decomposing, even though I hadn't been gone for that long. The smell was enough to make me want to vomit, and I knew that if I stayed here any longer, I would. But I had to see if there were any survivors. I slowly made my way to the middle of the room to get a better look at the situation, but then the worst happened. I stepped on something soft and wet. My foot sunk in and my sock was soaked. My body froze. Slowly, my eyes wandered to the ground. My foot was stuck in the torso of one of the dead bodies. Almost in a panic, I turned around and stumbled out the door. When I got back out into the hallway, I gasped for air and I did my best to suppress my gagging and tears. It took me a while to get myself back together. I couldn't believe what I had seen in that room. It all felt like a nightmare, but I knew that I had to move on. So back to the dog room, I guess?
Me equals useless, but for one thing, give to Cass. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Oh, wait. Oh, 4. 4 is the dog room, right? Thank you very much. Hypey hype. I feel that was a point of no return. Should I really enter this door? Don't enter. Okay, wait. So I know it specifically says, though, in order to get the key in this room, you have to enter the rooms in a specific order to get the key. So obviously, we're not going to get the key on this time. And whatever we end up with is going to be whatever, like, our last ending for this playthrough, because, I mean, we are out of time. And we did technically finish the base game. So they're saying this is the last we could do is enter. Wait, so what if I go back to... Okay. So we're just gonna glance in here. The people that were here were gone. The room was completely empty and their place was a black substance. Was that blood? Then the scratching started. It seemed to be coming from every direction at once. As I tried to make out its source, I noticed something at the very end of the room. There were ripples in the walls. It almost looked like the wall was made out of water. Slowly, something started to push itself through the thick liquid. First it was a single hand, then more and more arms started to appear out of all of them, grasped at empty air. All the while, the scratching was getting louder and louder. I tried to shield my ears with my hands. My instincts told me to run, but I was frozen in place. I couldn't avert my eyes from the scene before me. Slowly, feet started to reach through the wall, and then finally their whole body was free. The scratching had stopped. I recognized the clothes of some of the creatures in front of me. They were the people who had been trapped in this room, but their heads, they weren't human anymore. Their faces were distorted beyond recognition. As I stared at them in disbelief, I noticed that none of them were moving. They were just staring at me. Then one of them slowly lifted their arm, grasping at the air, and started to slowly walk towards me. It almost looked as if it was pleading. Then the others followed suit. I started to feel a mixture of terror and pity. But as they got closer and closer, my terror grew stronger and stronger. What would they do once they reached me? They definitely weren't human anymore. Were they about to attack me? My head began to spin and I took a few hasty steps back, almost tripping on my way out of the room. But there was nothing I could do for them. It was too late. If only I could have found a way out before they turned into that. Frustrated and with a heavy heart, I slammed the door shut. Which room should I go into? Well, now we're pretty much done, right? Yeah, okay, so we can't go back into room 2. Room 1 is now finished. Room 3 is now finished. So all that's left is to go back into 4. Should I really enter the door? Yep. As I entered the room, I instantly felt that something was off. There was no barking. As soon as my eyes got accustomed to the darkness, I saw why. The dog. The dog was dead. It was lying on the ground in front of the hole in the wall, motionless. Its tongue was hanging out of its mouth. As I stepped closer to confirm that it was truly dead, I picked up a faint, foul stench. I cautiously poked it, but there was no reaction. It was definitely dead. Somehow it had died without any apparent reason. I felt bad for it, but now I could finally walk past it without being afraid of getting bitten. Slowly, while trying not to step on it, I approached the hole. I stared into the hole. The hole stared back. Before I let the others know, I had to make sure that whatever was on the other side was safe. The hole was rather small, and I had trouble fitting through, but I succeeded eventually. After a while, I noticed that something was off. The hole seemed to go on longer than it should. I expected it would already come out. Yeah, and then it ends. Okay. Dun-dun-dun-dun! Interesting. So I'm wondering what the order would be to actually get the other key. Okay, wait, if I go back to extra really quickly. Let's go back to the computer. I know I didn't gain anything extra here, but come on. Yeah, so we didn't unlock the other folders yet, but okay, so good boy we didn't get yet. You got the key in the second... So there's a key in the second door! She was hungry. You finished the second room in the third door without giving them food. Oh, so don't give food to, what's his name? That guy. Okay. But it's a really cool feature. Okay, so don't give them food there. Okay, so don't give Lonnie the medicine and just kind of wait it out. So we still have to figure out how to get the key there. Huh. Oh, I'm kind of annoyed that we're out of time because I want to go back in. I want to go back in and do this. You finished the second room in the third door without giving them food. Wait, the third door? Isn't the kids in the third door? She was hungry. You finished the second room in the third door. Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Okay, luckily, okay. Okay, go back to bed. Okay, we're gonna speed this one since technically we can skip options. I know I said that was our last run, but this is the last one. Okay, so we're not gonna give the child food, and we're not gonna give the kid medicine, and we're not gonna feed room number 2. Okay. No, well, I mean, this is literally going to be the last. Okay. So then how do we do this one then? Okay, so if we go visit the kids, right? Let's take, how do we do this one then? Because we're not giving him medicine. Oh, so if I don't take the food, he's still gonna die because of the lack of medicine. But then at least I can't. Okay, take none. Okay. Okay, so then let's go into room 4. We're gonna leave. We're gonna go into room 2. Okay, so he's all pissed off. Okay. Okay, so then let's go back into room 3. Okay. I glanced around the room. They fortunately seemed to be still more or less okay. I approached them. Amy was still huddled over Lonnie's body. His face was twisted with worry. His condition seemed to have worsened, which became more and more apparent as I got closer. Spots on his arms to be... Okay, so he's starting to get sick. We're still not going to take any of the food. Okay. So we are... Okay, so the shaking stop happened. So let's go back to room 2. Okay, so he's still pissed off. I'm not giving you food, dude! It's just not happening. Okay. So, let's go back to room 3. Okay, so he's got more mushrooms growing on him. She was just sitting there next to him staring into space. It was as if she hadn't noticed me come in. Hey, Amy, are you alright? Her head barely moved in my direction. Scott? It was almost as if she didn't really recognize me. I grew concerned. Yeah, it's me. Are you alright? She didn't reply. Maybe she was just tired. I couldn't blame her. This whole situation was pretty exhausting, especially for someone as young as her. Where have you been? Her voice is almost inaudible. I was searching for a way out of here. Don't worry, I'm sure I'll find one soon. She continued to stare at the floor with a blank expression. I just need some more time. I'll have you and your brother out of here soon. She turned away. It didn't seem like she was up for a conversation. It was probably in her interest that I left and continued searching for an exit. I left her be. I walked by the canned food. We're not taking it. Okay. So then, if we go back to room 2... He was nowhere to be seen. I tried to step out of the way, but he almost tackled me and grabbed me by my collar. You have food and water. You have food and water, give them to us. I struggled to get him off of me, but he kept clinging onto me. His strength was surprising, considering how frail he looked. Let me go, I don't have any. Liar, you still look healthy, but you're just keeping it. As I struggled with him, a pungent metallic stench hit my nose. I finally managed to throw him off of me. His body hit the ground. He lay there for a bit, gasping in frustration. Then he crawled back to where he had been sitting before attacking me. While catching my breath, I took a look around the room. Everyone was sitting in their own corner, eyes fixated on the ground. They looked more famished than the last time I had seen them. And the whereabouts of Frederick were also a mystery to me. I approached a woman sitting in one of the far back corners of the room, but she averted her gaze as I asked if she had seen where he had gone. He's not here anymore. That was all she was willing to tell me. I had no idea what happened here, and it didn't seem like I'd find out by asking them. Another wave of the pungent smell hit my nose, and I took a few steps back. What was that? It almost made me gag. Not wanting to spend any more time here than necessary, I left the room. Which room should I go into? The door wouldn't budge at first. How did it get stuck? It was totally fine the last time I tried to enter it. I started pulling it with all my might. Eventually, I was able to pry it open. What had blocked my attempt to enter the room were vines and mushrooms growing on the ground. Where had they come from? My question was quickly answered as I pushed through them. Lonnie's body seemed to be floating in the middle of the room, but I quickly realized that it was just being supported by some of the vines. It looked like they had sprouted out of him. How was this possible? Where was Amy? I couldn't see her anywhere. Amy, are you in here? Are you all right? No reply. She had to be. There was no way she could. My eyes darted around in a panic until I finally spotted her. It was Amy, but my heart sank into my stomach. There had been no way to escape the expanse of the vines, and so she must have been entangled in them, and then something slid down my cheek, but I barely noticed it. I hadn't known them for that long, but I still felt responsible. I was their chance to escape this hell, but I had let them down. Shaking my head in disbelief, I stumbled backwards out of the room. The door fell shut in front of me. The horrible scene had burned itself into my mind. I was on the verge of losing hope, but I steadied myself and turned away from the door. Even if I wasn't able to save Amy and Lonnie anymore, I may be able to help other people trapped in here. I shouldn't give up just yet. I had to postpone mourning their death until later. With a heavy heart, I went back to the middle of the hallway. Which room should I go into? You do realize that now you can't get food, right? I felt really uneasy about entering this room. Was it because of the way everyone had acted last time I was here, or was it because of the smell? With a foul feeling in my stomach, I stepped over the threshold. An even worse stench than last time hit my face, stealing my breath and making my eyes tear up. It was enough to make me want to vomit, and I knew that if I stayed here any longer, I would. I took a look around the room through my teary eyes. There were piles of something. While quickly covering my nose, I wiped out my watering eyes and took a closer look. There were big mounds of clothes scattered throughout the room. Some kinds of insects were buzzing around them. But there was also another big red pile. At first I thought it was flesh, but as I got closer I realized that it was mostly organs. I quickly stepped backwards towards the wall. But as I did, I almost stumbled over something. I let out a shout as I tried to regain my balance. I glanced at the floor to see what I had stepped on. It was a woman who was leaning on the wall, but her appearance was off. Her stomach was horribly bloated, as if she was about to burst at any moment. Right next to her was a knife that was covered in blood. It didn't seem like she was killed with it, but I didn't see any stab wounds on her either. Instead, she was covered in many small bruises. Either way, she was undeniably dead, even if I couldn't quite make out why. This whole room was bizarre. Piles of clothes, piles of organs, and a woman with a bloated stomach? What had happened here? I quickly came to the conclusion that there was no use thinking about it, and I wanted to get out of here as soon as possible. The stench was killing me. I gasped for hours and finally stepped out of the room, trying to force the horrible image of what I seen out of my mind. I saw not to enter that room again. I turned towards the other doors and with a heavy heart contemplated what to do next. Oh, so she ate everybody. Ew. Okay, room 1. The room was unfurnished and windowless, a sole light bulb. I could still see about 15 people standing on the ground. Most of them seemed to be adults, but there were a couple of children covering their parents. One person from the group. Okay, so... Okay. So they gave me the medicine now. But we can't go here. We can't go into room 3, so we can't get the medicine anymore. So if I go into room 4, the dog is still alive. Okay. So then the only option is to go back into room 1. Okay, then we found her again. So if we go back into room 1, just him. The dog's still alive. Okay, so they're gone. Okay. Enter. Okay. So we're finishing off here again. Okay, so extra. Go back to the computer. So I'm wondering how... Okay, so we're pretty much done. But... we still gotta figure out how to get the 3rd key, but I guess I'll deal with that later. It seriously makes you, like, not want to turn off and make you want to keep going and going and going until you unlock everything. Because I'm just like, okay, knowing that there's a key, like, that there's a key here, it's like, okay, let's go back in, but it's like, okay, no, we don't have any more time. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're gonna go back here because there's something I need to test. I can't say that I'm right, but because there's a specific order you have to enter the rooms to get the key. So I want to see something. Okay, let's skip everything. Okay, so I think we go room 1. We get the medicine. Then we go room 3. We give the medicine. We're gonna take half. Then we go back into room 1. Okay. Then go back to room 3. Okay. How's your brother feeling? Amy seemed much calmer. His head didn't feel as hot. He had been sleeping for a long time, though. For a second, I considered the worst, but his pulse was fortunately still there. He did seem to be in a better state, and I was told that he would get up soon with enough rest. How about you? Are you holding up? I think so. I should get going again. I'll come back soon to check on you and Lainey. Okay. No. We already took half, so... Okay, then it goes into this. Then let's go back to room 1. Scratching sound. So no, it's still... Back to 3. Good morning! Okay, they're at least awake now. What's up, DK? I don't think there's a secret exit anywhere. You should probably save your energy till they come and save us. You know how long it's been already, right? If they wanted to save us, they would have done that forever ago. I bet I could find something. There has to be a way out of here. Unfazed by his sister's advice, he continued to search everywhere into the wall. Amy seemed to finally spot me and jog towards me. Scott, did you manage to find a way out? The boy turned around and hastily came closer as well. Hey, Scott, Amy told me that you helped me with the medicine. Thank you. Don't worry about it. And to answer your question, unfortunately not yet. The hope drained from their expectant eyes as it said that I wish I could have brought them good news. But never mind that. I'm surprised you're better already. Already? I don't think any sickness has ever kept me down longer than this one. I practically slept through a whole week after you gave me the medicine. Huh? A week? Yeah, good thing we had enough food and water. It seemed like they were serious. I was pretty sure that it hadn't been that long since the last time I had seen them. Have you really been trapped in here for a week? Yep. That didn't make any sense, but I was feeling so glad about Lonnie being alright again that I decided to postpone my questions about this. Getting them out as quickly as possible was top priority. So about your parents. Were they with you when this whole thing happened? No, they were somewhere on the ship, but not in the same room as us. Izzy, can you tell me what they look like? I can let them know that you're safe if I meet them. They proceeded to give me the detailed description of their parents, and I did my best to memorize everything. So you came here as a group of 6. Your parents, Sabrina and Frederick, right? Yeah, and our dog came too. You could probably recognize our dad pretty quickly. He's a bit odd since he always carries bullets with him as a lucky charm, but no actual gun. He always says, I don't think he needs to know. Lonnie gave her an irritated look. Oh, almost forgot. Did you meet a girl while looking around? She wears a hoodie and a skirt. The description sounded oddly familiar. Could they mean the girl that I met on the ship deck? Yeah, I think I have. She wasn't doing too well when I found her, but she's resting in my room now. She was here shortly before you came. She was really nice and told us that she'd find a way to help Lonnie, but she never came back. I'm worried about her. She didn't sound that nice when the man in the first room had described her. Maybe she just had a weakness for children. I want to go home with Mom and Dad. Her words were almost inaudible, but both Lonnie and me picked it up. Don't worry, we'll get out of here soon. I felt really bad for them, but I wasn't sure what I could do to help. Staying here and lending them my company would be a way, but then I couldn't search for a way to get them out. Maybe I could look for their family first and make sure they knew that their children were safe, but I was afraid of how many days will have passed the next time I'd enter this room. The flow of time seemed to be peculiar in this place. I came to the conclusion that I had to keep on searching for a way out if I wanted to help them. I should probably go now and let your parents know that you two are alright if I meet them. You just sit tight and stick together until I come back, alright? I'll have found a way to get you out by then, but don't worry. Oh, and let us know if you find our dog. He's a Doberman with a red collar. I'll let you know if I see it. With that, I turned around and stepped outside. So now they're talking about... He always carries a gun with no bullets. But then that'd be the gun here, but... The dog... Okay. Okay, so now that's still the same story. Okay, that room's still messed up. Okay. Have you seen them? Are they okay? Yes, they're alright. They're in another room and I have enough food and water to survive for quite a while. Thank God. She looked very relieved. But I knew that she wouldn't be able to fully stop worrying about them until they were back together. I quickly glanced around to make sure that Frederick wasn't looking our way. Then I got the cans of food out and helped them out to her. Here, this should get you by for some time. She looked a bit confused, but still happily took the cans and hid them under her mantle. Are you sure that wouldn't rather trade the food for his gun? She pointed at Frederick, but I shook my head. No, I'd rather let you have the food. I'm not sure if I could trust him to share it properly. Alright, but take this with you. She pulled out something shiny from under her mantle and handed it to me. It was a knife. It's probably not quite as useful as a gun, but it's better than nothing. It might help you. I hesitantly took it and put it away. Thank you. I'll make sure to let everyone once I found a way out. But before I could step out of the door, I was really confronted by Frederick. Hey, what did you two talk about? Nothing. I really didn't feel like dealing with him, so I turned around and kept walking towards the door. He forcibly grabbed my arm, preventing me from leaving. Don't try anything funny, alright? I pulled my arm free and quickly made my way out before he could grab me again. I really didn't want to have to deal with him again. The door fell shut behind me and I let my eyes wander over the other doors. So if I go back and talk to the kids now? Still no. So... Oh, this this is so hard though, because like I have no idea the order on how to get that key. Because the bullets go into shooting the dog, but we already did that in the previous choices. So they don't want us to go back and talk to the kids yet. So I talk... Attack the creature using the knife. See, I don't know what I'm supposed to use the knife for. I don't want to stab the dog with the knife. That seems weird. Maybe using dog meat? You think? Oh, it seems weird though. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to start this part over again. Of course, I'm ready with my weapon. At the last moment, I instantly closed my eyes. Oh, I cut the dog and the collar's free. If I hadn't been such a coward and hadn't closed my eyes, I would now be getting mauled by a dog. I readied myself for the oncoming attack, but nothing happened. I slowly opened my eyes. The dog had already stepped off my body and was running towards the door to the hallway. Why hadn't it attacked me? Did it think that I freed it on purpose? Either way, I was happy that I was still unharmed. As I looked on the ground where the dog had previously been, I noticed something I had left behind. It was the dog's collar. Something had been attached to its inner side. That's how we get the key! Oh, good call, good call. I walked towards the hole in the wall, glanced back to confirm the dog wasn't about to come back and attack me, but it seemed to be really gone. Okay. Oh! Yes, we got the key! Oh yeah! You can call it an instant to your character cutting the collar. I mean, I didn't anticipate that either, because it's like, once we got the knife, it's like, what the hell do I do with the knife? Like, okay, wait a minute here, like, because I was like, I don't think stabbing Frederick with the knife was gonna give me what I needed, like. Okay, I just need to turn on the computer quickly. Okay, let me see here. This has to be in story 2. This one here. I think. Or not. I don't even know. Fun guy. Second key. No idea how to get that. No idea there. Third key. So I think we've gotten everything that we need from the third door now, officially. So these are door 2 achievements. Good morning. So this one has to be a door 1 achievement. Okay, the key did not fit. Oh yeah, drawer 3. So what's inside? Oh, another USB slot? Okay. So go back to the computer. Hi, Tat! Ah, this one. Okay. Ooh, okay. I'm the only one here right now. Oh god. Oh dear god, these are long. Okay. They actually fired me. How could they be so short-sighted? We need to use every possible method in combating Zaz. If I was the leader of this operation, I'd fire anyone who let ethics get in the way. Sacrifices always need to be made to ensure humanity's future. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just continue my research in private, since it's not like there aren't enough subjects inside the zone. Frankly, I can't believe I originally thought I was unlucky to live here when this happened. It was a stroke of luck. First, I need to get my notes back. Those numbskulls wouldn't let me take them when they threw me out, and whined about how they're company property. It's my IP. I did the labor. I know my contract, and I know they don't have a leg to stand on. They just want to claim they found the cure, but it'll be me. At least security isn't too tight at the moment. Massive steps towards discovering a cure. My sister has Zaz, and although I don't know when she was infected, she says she feels fine. This means the chance of natural immunity, or at least natural resistance, is greater than 0. I'll have to take drastic measures and see if this resistance is genetic. Normally, I'd exercise caution, but time is running out. No one else deserves the honors but me. My hypothesis was proven true. After a few successful tests and self-infection, it seems that my sister and I are both completely immune to the disease. I will immediately start development on a cure. May suggested giving herself up to my colleagues, but I convinced her to stay. They have a bigger team, so I'd have no chance to catch up if they found out about her. She gave me 2 days. I'll have to find a way to keep her here after that. It's not just for our sakes, but for everyone's. Oh, so Mai's immune to this. Okay. I've been having odd dreams as of late. I always wake up in the same town, then find myself wandering through it for hours on end. Sometimes I see people sitting alongside the roads, all of whom look identical to my test subjects. I've even met some who look like my infected neighbors, but they always insist that they've been living there all their life, and even recount events from their childhood to prove it. Strangely, I met Mai there too. She was really shocked to see me, but the feeling wasn't exactly mutual. She mentioned something about having strange dreams the other night. I suppose this is just one of the disease's symptoms. Could Zaz be related to a collective unconscious of some kind? Hello, I'm dead. We got the 3rd key, so we're reading through the notes now. From the 3rd USB thing. Even if it's only shared among a few people, do we really need to get rid of it so? So the order of the room was very important. So basically we had to start with the medicine, give it to the kids really fast, go back and talk to the people that gave the medicine, give them the food, then go back and talk to the kids. The kids start talking about their parents. Then we go to the room where that jerk was with the gun. We found the kid's mom. We gave her food, so she gave us a knife. Then you try to stab the dog with a knife, but accidentally free the dog. And that's how you get the key. Because the dog turns out to be the kid's pet. And then boom, key's done. Hello, I'm scared. Oh, you're fine. There's no jump scares in this one. Yeah. Even though you try to kill the dog, you accidentally free the dog. See, I told you the dog was good. Yeah, but I didn't even know that we can get a knife. Like, after I got the knife, I'm like, what the hell do we do with the knife? Because we're running out of options before the story part is done again. So DK's like, well, what if you try getting dog meat? I was like, okay. Well, we'll try to get dog meat. And it actually ended up working to our advantage. We freed the dog, and we got the key. Even if it's only shared among a few people, do we really need to get rid of it so? We could have eternal life in that alternate world. No, I'm too committed to stop now. The things I've done that all had to do are too much to allow that. I'm even running out of Zaz infected. Maybe I need some uninfected subjects. Well, I mean, people were hungry, right? You should have killed the creepy trio. Oh, for sure. But there was no option for that. Last night I broke into the lab again to see how the research was going and to collaborate with them. There's only so much I can do at home. Most people were asleep, but some weren't. When I thought I'd been found out, they just walked past me with blank expressions on their faces. Things must have not been progressing too smoothly for them, or maybe the numbskulls in charge have forced a crunch. Whatever it is, it can't be good for them. I'm glad to see it. It means I'm ahead of them, and that I can help them by perfecting my cure. As I was about to leave with my borrowed data, I found a scientist just outside the facility. He was unconscious, so I brought him home. I soon found out that he was already infected, so at least I didn't have to do that part myself. I just finished designing a new formula for my cure. This lucky guy can be the first to try it. As I was exploring the other side, I realized that I could very slightly change the environment and even the people around me. Does my resistance have something to do with it? Is it some kind of blessing or a great curse? I also noticed something truly peculiar about my last test subject. He met my sister in the dream, but didn't have any fake memories. Unlike everyone else, he seemed to be lost and was trying to find his way back home. Maybe it's because of the new formula I injected him with. Okay, so I think they're talking about me? Because we don't have fake memories. We just don't know what the fuck is going on. It might not have been enough to cure him, but he seemed to have the same awareness about that place Maya and I do, minus the power to actually wake up. It also seemed as if his presence is impacting the world of people around him, similar to Maya and me, but more extremely. This is a great stroke of luck on my part. I think I'll try testing how far I can warp that place further, and he'll make an excellent control group. Say I wonder what happens to people in the real world when their Zaw's dream self dies. Okay. The buried village uncovered by archaeological expedition. Last month, the team led by renowned archaeologist Herschel Soya set out to examine the recent landslide's path and origin. They discovered artifacts this past Monday, and today learned that these belong to an underground village near Penjambara. How or why it was buried remains unclear, but it's certain that this discovery will shed considerable light on our local history. Dr. Soya asked our paper not to disclose the dig site's current location so that he and his team could work without distractions. When questioned about why no one came forward regarding the artifacts, one archaeologist said, "We just didn't know what we were dealing with. It'd be premature." He's hoping more interesting things get unearthed in the coming days. In a follow-up to yesterday's front page story, Herschel Soy's archaeology team had discovered several human heads in the ground. The strange part, explained to us, is that these buried heads' level of deterioration implies they're much younger than the village. It is. The thing is, though, when we have to go back to door 2, I honestly don't know what options we didn't pick. Like, I'm stumped on that one, because I feel like we've done every option, but we're still missing something there. When asked if they might be recent, he said the possibility was a strong one. The team has sent some of their findings to laboratories and the police for analysis. At the very least, this might explain what happened to these people, or how they ended up in such an abandoned underground place, Dr. Soya commented. The newly christened buried hamlet archaeological team made major progress today. This afternoon, Herschel Soya identified the village as more of a hamlet. Its people relied on farming to survive. There are no bigger historical villages near it or Penjambara, so the residents were secluded. However, there may be more buried nearby, Dr. Soya explained. Before investigating the surrounding areas, the team will focus on fully uncovering the hamlet and its secrets. Unfortunately, sudden lightheadedness in certain members had slowed the progress. But when asked to provide more information on the heads his team uncovered on Saturday, Dr. Soya informed our paper that he's still awaiting results from the police and laboratories. The buried hamlet archaeological team, led by Herschel Soya, can connect themselves to another strange occurrence. Disembodied buried heads they uncovered on Saturday were found to be more recent than expected. A coroner's report noted that blood circulation never stopped for a moment. Even though specific parts of the brain had died, what we have here are essentially people in a perpetual coma, according to her. Severed heads, but they're in comas. Whoa. This borders on witchcraft, a scientist remarked. We still have no idea how it happened. Our assumption is that the heads have been preserved by an unknown parasite or some other organism. The police, meanwhile, say that the heads don't match any missing persons reports from the last 3 years. We can't publish this, the coroner is claiming that this news might tarnish their reputation, and it might hurt ours because of how absurd it is. If this is all you have today, then remove their comment or claim it was anonymous. Okay, that's just music. Okay. Okay, so we know door 1 we're missing something, and then going back in, door 2 we're missing 2 things. Somehow. And it's bugging me, because I have no idea how. Okay, door 4 is... Okay, door 4 is still locked. So door 4 might be connected to that other weird mode that we don't have yet. Okay, so we have to go back to bed now so we can go back to the doors. Okay. Right? Okay, guide to funny faces. I still think this one is the creepiest one out of all the stories. Oh, wait, this is different. I shot awake panting heavily, my clothes sticking to my skin due to all the sweat. My eyes darted around the room, but everything was quiet. I seemed to be safe. A nightmare. Seems like I just had a nightmare. I was at some hotel, people were trapped, and I couldn't remember, but it must have been terrifying. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. I took deep breaths and kept mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream, nothing more. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one is here... I looked around the window, confirmed that it was still nighttime. I had either slept for a whole day or only a few hours. Okay, so all the doors are still locked. Yeah, okay, he's talking about stinking still. Okay, so now that's back to normal. Okay, so then we meet her. Okay. Now, back streets didn't have any extra options, I don't think. So the options are still lying in, I believe, in the apartment. Has to be. Okay, so let's go back with the main street really quickly. Oh, I'm honestly not sure on this one. Oh, because it's the faces. Okay, check the desk. Check the book. A mask with a distorted facial expression. The title read The Art of Humor. Oh. I flipped through it. It was apparently a guide by the most hilarious one that explained how to make funny faces. Oh! Maybe this is what we missed the last time. If we can't get the key in this one, then we'll go back and we'll try looking around the building and seeing if there was something that we missed also. One description of a technique caught my eye. Finally, we arrived at addition. Like removal, this is a very risky technique. We reserve only for the cream of the crop. It may sound simple, though. All you have to do is add and never stop. Search for features that are a disgrace to facial humor, and then take them yourself and pair them off. The person might even thank you for all your help with removal. I glanced at the pictures beside the desk and shook my head in disgust. I started skimming through it quickly, and sure enough, it was full of similar depictions. On the very last page I came to sudden stop. There was a key taped to it. There's the freaking key. Hello. Well, it didn't matter to me anyway, since I didn't know what door the key was for. I placed the book back the way it was before. Did you give me the key? I'm assuming we just took the key, right? Okay, mirror. Okay, this part we had already checked. Yeah, that's my issue. Okay, so desk, we now finished the desk. Okay, pictures. I know we did pictures, but I'm just checking it again. Okay, now she comes back. So let's just see if they give us the key. Because we know that no matter what, we die here. I don't think there is, but we'll go back to it anyway. Okay. Just like in the book. The art is so good, though. Okay, so she picks up the book again. I need more, definitely need more. She looks back to the mirror, caresses her disfigured face. Okay, so then she leaves. I stay here. Okay, then we die. Okay, but does it give me the key? Okay, so we pass out. Okay, why did he not take the key? Okay, now I'm confused. Okay, go back in. Why did you not take the key? Maybe we have to check the book again? doesn't do anything. Pictures don't really do anything. Yeah, because it's specific option sequences. That's why I was like, oh, we got the key now. And it's like, no, we didn't. Okay. Okay, main street, enter apartment. Take a look around. Check the desk. Check the book. Okay, why are you not giving the key? Oh, so he just decides not to take the key. No, take the damn key, dude. Okay, so now he's still just doing the same thing. Okay, so for some reason he's not taking the key. Yeah, so he says bathroom and kitchen, but for some reason he goes right to the bathroom. He doesn't go to the kitchen at all. Then we just go back to the living room and then we hide. So you only have like a couple of options before you get taken out. So there's gotta be an order before he grabs the key then. Once you get into the apartment. Kind of like how it is like the same thing with this one. Okay, wait, I have an idea. It's probably not gonna work, but I mean, it's obviously the only option we have. Okay, so let's go back to the apartment again. Main street, go. Enter. Okay, so what if we go to the bathroom first? Wait. We already did the bathroom. See, it's weird how it says check the other rooms, but yet he always goes back to the bathroom. Okay, then we'll go to the desk and go back to the book. There we go, there we go, there we go. Because we have to waste time. There we go. Now we took the book. Okay, then we hide. Hopefully this gives us the key. But I'm pretty sure like we're not gonna get out of the apartment anyway, though. Hello. Come on. Oh, I can feel the weight of the book in my pocket. Oh, sure, I put it here. She rummaged the desk. What? What? Where is it? I know it was here. It was here. She cast the bottles from the desk to the ground. They shattered, spilling their sickly sweet smelling contents across the carpet. The panic drained from her face. It's okay. It's okay. I just need to buy a new one. It's completely fine. I'll just ask the most hilarious one if he has one left over. He has to. She scurried out of the apartment, leaving the door wide open. Yeah. I remained frozen in the closet for a few more minutes. My heart slowly calmed itself. Once I was sure that she was really gone, I stepped out. I needed to get myself as far away from this building and this town as fast as I possibly could. Okay, so then we pass out. I tried to turn on, but I'd already become too weak. Okay, there we go. Yes! Okay, so we got the key. Now, the problem... There's still one more thing that we need from that door. But I'm not sure how to do it. Okay, so let's go back and we'll take a look around the apartment now and see if there's other options, because technically apartment now we're done. We're done with the apartment. Because once we go in, we can't get out. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back to the main street, though. We'll take a look around the building. No, see, so that one's dead right away. Oh, it's so weird. And what's weird? This one is tricky. I'm going back to the back alley right now, because I have no idea. Okay, back through the back streets. No, see, there's no options in the back streets. So it literally has to be in the apartment in order to get that last story thing. I'm so confuzzled. Okay, drawer 2. Okay, so now we've opened 1, 2, 3. So it has to be the order again. The only thing I can think of is getting caught by her. But I'm not sure how you would get caught. It's weird. But he doesn't, though. Yeah, that's why I'm confused on how to get it. The news talked about a new epidemic that's broken out, but refused to give any info other than the disease sends you to a coma-like state. They just told us to stay in our homes. There's talk of a contamination zone or a quarantine, too. One of the neighbors said they'll stop people from leaving the area, even by force if necessary. My sister, who was assigned to the team researching the sickness, also told me that she'll be away from home until the situation is resolved. I feel so alone and hopeless. This has been going on for way longer than I expected. My sister still hasn't come home since she left. I know she has to work day and night to help everyone, but I can't help missing her. We've been through so much since we left home. I heard that, too, some of my neighbors have the disease, too. I really hope they find a cure. Also, I've started having weird dreams lately. I always find myself in a town that I haven't seen before. My neighbors are all there, but are perfectly healthy. That's pretty normal on its own, but it's the exact same town every time. It's like I really am walking the streets and seeing the sights there. Things are always lucid to an extent. Time just progresses in strange ways. Like hours pass by in a matter of minutes, and I don't even notice. I must be having these dreams because of all the stress. My sister suddenly came home, and I was really happy at first, but she seemed different. When I asked what was bothering her, she said she got fired and wouldn't tell me why. I just let it go. I told her about my weird dreams too, but she barely listened. Maybe I can do something to cheer her up. My sister left yesterday night, but didn't tell me where she was going. She came back with this weird device, which she said is for telling whether someone has Zaz. Zaz is apparently the name they gave the sickness. I let her use it on me. Apparently I got infected somehow, but I figured that was probably the case. Most of our neighbors are in comas, and I saw some of the ones who aren't just yesterday. I guess it couldn't be helped. She asked if I'd let her inspect me. I was hesitant, but she talked me into it. My sister told me something weird today. Apparently I should have already been in a coma, but I don't feel any different than usual. This led her to think that maybe somehow my body can fight the disease. She told me to stay put and not tell anyone until she was absolutely sure. When I asked why I couldn't go to the research facility and let them have a look, she got really defensive. She said that they might hurt me. I'll let her test her theories for 2 more days. After that, I'll see if someone else can find anything. I don't know what happened to my sister. We've always been close. She's my best friend, but she's just not the same person anymore. I tried to leave today because her 2 days are up, but she protested. Things got physical and she overpowered me. She locked me in my room and screamed about how it's for your own good and they'll kill you. I wish I was strong enough to break free. When she calmed down, she told me that there's something in our bodies preventing the sickness from developing. She even said she infected herself to test that theory. That made me cry first because I thought she was insane. Then I was glad she was okay. I had another weird dream today. I was in that town again. I met my sister there. We talked and she said she's been having the same dream ever since she infected herself. As soon as we're up, she stormed into my room and started asking questions. She said it might be because of Zaz, but that doesn't make any sense. I just want this to end soon so things can go back to normal. Good morning. Since yesterday, I've been hearing weird noises outside my room every now and then. My sister keeps saying that everything's fine and that I'm just imagining things, but I'm scared. Sometimes it's just random shuffling, but sometimes it sounds like muffled screams. What are you doing out there, Mari? Or Mary? There are generally 3 methods to reach the pinnacle of face comedy: distortion, removal, and addition. We'll start with the easiest one, distortion. Distortion is a simple but not well-refined technique, so I wouldn't recommend trying it for too long. Still, good fundamentals provide a basis for improvement, meaning, my dear reader, you should keep paying attention. The easiest way to distort one's facial features is with the fingers. For example, you could pull up your eyelids or tug the corners of your mouth, giving you a strange appearance. Yeah. Who also got us killed many, many times. You could, so kind of like how they're talking about like the distortion, right? How we alter our faces with our fingers. Okay. Isn't giving you a strange appearance. Any amateur can do that though. Using tools is far more complex, not to mention more permanent. Everyone will love it, especially if you shift the tools places around. Personally, I'd recommend using staples or tape to make distortions make more long-term. Other interesting tools are strings and pins. Put a pin through an eyelid or a cheek to fix something in place, and then the rest of the page is covered in red stains. Yeah, I prefer the less permanent option to the distortion. Next, let's discuss removal. This is an intricate, highly involved process. You can completely excise parts of your face to look funnier, and maybe even charm your crush. To do this, you will need scissors, a big sharp knife, a hand saw or a bone saw, or a rotary saw. Caution, it's messy. Why can't they just sew it, right? Like, ugh! It's usually best to have an assistant too. Removal is a difficult process by oneself, and maybe your buddy needs help as well. Just remember that laughter is the best medicine. The laughs you receive from this, the essence of true facial comedy, will make the pain more than bearable. First, make a small incision on the left side of your nose, and the rest of the description is drenched in blood. Finally, we arrive at addition. Like removal, this is a very risky technique, reserved only for the cream of the crop. It may sound simple, though. All you have to do is add and never stop. Search for features that are a disgrace to facial humor, and then take them for yourself and pair them off. The person might even thank you for all their help with the removal. There are some important things to keep in mind, though. First and foremost, never steal from a fellow comedian. Second, don't damage anyone's face while on the hunt for parts because you might ruin your additions. Third, be sure to keep unused parts frozen so they can be used later. You may want to start with just one person, but variety is the spice of life. You can add all sorts of facial features to yourself and look like either a real freak show or a deific model. Beauty is only skin. The remaining pages are covered in blood and assorted fleshy chunks, leaving them completely unreadable. Ew! Okay. Okay, we're closer to the truth, but... Right? Okay. Yeah, we're missing the original fun guy and good boy. Good boy is in the first door and fun guy's in the second door. It's just... I don't know. I don't know the options for that. Because it has to be in the apartment. Yeah, good boy is tied to the dog. So the only thing that I can think of is when we escape from that one apartment, we read the book 2 times, then maybe run? But I'm not sure. Because, I mean, when the dog finds us, he kills us, right? Well, I mean, everything kills us, but... So that's what I thought, but I think I read the book 1 time, then I tried running. I don't think I read it 2 times, then tried running. Because I know the 3rd time we get killed by the dog. And there's no way to rescue the dog. There's no options there. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back into this one. Good morning. Do we remember how many chances we have before she comes through the door? I want to try to get caught in the bathroom. Okay, stay on the main street. Enter the apartment. Okay, we need to calculate how much time, how many options we have before we get caught. Okay, so if I check the desk, I want to go back to the book really quickly. Okay, so he reads that. Okay, back to the bathroom. No. I need to get caught in the bathroom somehow. But it's like he doesn't... Oh, okay. Yeah, but how do you find a closet? So no, so it's still the same closet even if you're in the bathroom. Okay, so no matter what, we don't get caught there. Okay, that's cool. Oh, that's true, that's true. Then I have no idea for that one. Because she talks about the hilarious one. Oh, I don't know. I'm so confused on these ones. Yeah, I know we have key 2. Thank you, game, for telling me about key 2 again. Yeah, I honestly can't think of any other options that we haven't picked. Nope. Because the minute you go other option in the building, you go towards that room that has all the blood and the guy chopping. Yeah, no. Backstreet has no other options and alleyway has, Backstreet and exploring apartment has nothing. So it has to be in her apartment. So it has to be a specific order. So the only thing I can think of is that when we go in, we memo the orders that we touch the stuff. So like if we go like picture, mirror, book, you know, or like picture, mirror, bathroom, like kind of thing, and see if that gives us the option. Because it has to be in the apartment. There's no other options. Yeah. So we could try that really quickly and just like write down what we pick so that way we don't make the same choice. I'm just happy that there's a speed through. That makes me happy because then at least it saves a little bit of time. I was like, you want to wake up faster, please? Okay, Main Street. Go. Enter. But yeah, and staying here and waiting doesn't help us at all either. We know that. So take a look around. So like, okay, so like, what if I, okay, check the pictures. There's no multiple options with pictures, right? Check the pictures, check the desk. Check the mirror. And then check the book. Okay, so now we did picture, mirror, book. So now we steal the book. We hide. No, again, nothing happens there. Okay, so let's try going back to first door really fast. I mean, overall, we pretty much got everything that we needed. Like, outside of, like, the extra achievements. Yeah, it's based on his art style. The game is amazing. Oh, look. Oh, okay, he's showing us his face. Same. But when I look online, those 3 achievements are unknown. So people haven't figured out how to get them yet, so there's no, like, hints, there's no guide for it yet. And the other one, the safe cracker, to get to, pentagrama mode, or whatever the hell it's called, there's a specific order you have to do things to get the code to enter that mode, to open up the final drawer, and I have no idea how to do that. I think so. But you know how many times we could repeat the same cycle because we don't know the order? There were people laughing, their faces. I couldn't remember, but it must have been terrifying. The pulsing pain in my head slowly subsided. I took a deep breath and kept mumbling to myself that it had all been a dream. After calming down, I decided to take another look around the house. The fact that no one is here, even though the lights were on, were still... Okay, so this time he's seen the guy's face. Okay, so here, yeah, we talk about food. We're looking for food. So let's skip through all that. Obviously, we're not gonna eat it. Okay, so asking for help would put us in the apartment where we meet all of those other characters. Welcome back. Yeah, taking a look around did nothing, I think. I think it all ties into through here. But again, we can go through those options again really quickly. Okay, so we'll go through here. Yeah, so then we get into his apartment. So this is where it all starts. So we go into the study. We have to... I know taking the book is for that one key. But let's just take the book anyway. Okay. So if we take a break... Okay, so we'll try reading 2 times and then running. Okay, here they're talking about the pet disappearances. Because I know 3 times we die. Well, we're gonna die anyway, but... Set the journal down. I thought I'd heard a sound. There was nothing. Maybe it was just my imagination. Continue reading. Yes. Okay, so 2 times. A large animal footprints, much too large to be paused. The kitchen had been torn apart. Now I definitely heard something. I felt uneasy about this, but I didn't want to stop reading. I felt close to figuring out something crucial. Okay, so now I'm gonna stop reading. Now, see, then he just goes back to the river part no matter what. Oh, what is the order for these things? Oh, it's bugging me. We did that one. That one I knew for a fact. Because you read once and then you go to the river. So 1, 2 is river. 3, you die. The dog eats you. Right away. so I'm thinking here. Okay. I know I'm done with this door, but I just want to see something. I want to see if any, like, memory thing pops up here quickly. I mean, I could try it again. Okay, so now now he remembers the dog in the memory. But that still doesn't give me anything that I need. Okay. So here we're just gonna speed through everything because we already have everything in this room. Right. But something still has to be tied to that order to get your hands on that specific thing. So right now I'm just kind of speeding it through just to get this room done. I'm not giving you food. Well, I really don't know what to do. These orders are so confusing. So then they're just talking about... Because we got all of the stories. We got all of that. It's just... But yeah, I'll do what you said anyway, really quickly. We'll do the reading at once. Just to show you that it takes us right back there. Right, okay, yeah, so it remembers the memory of the last door we did. Okay. Okay, don't eat because that kills us. Ask for help. Yeah, so in his room, we have no choice. We have to steal the book because the book will take us to the river. Oh yeah, so okay, so we'll do what you said. We'll read it one time. Continue reading, no. Yeah, so then he runs away and he gets caught no matter what. Because he, yeah. So if we do pet, and then we go door 2. That dog's face. Funny face man! And of course, they don't own a dog. Oh yeah, sure. I wasn't sure she knew this. Maybe she meant the word was separate. Why did she bring up dogs? It's not like I told her whether I did or didn't mind dogs. Oh, this is new! She suddenly started talking about dogs. I considered questioning her, but this was the only lead I'd found so far, and I didn't want to lose this chance. We arrived in an old, tall building. I watched May from the corner of my eye. Something seemed different about it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Perhaps it was just my imagination. They live on the highest floor. This building is pretty old. Not many people live here. was afraid that everything would come down on our heads any minute. I can only imagine that we would look in these abandoned halls. There should be the door at the end of this hall, and then she leaves. Oh, this is now, it's bugging me more now. So the dog part was new, but... Oh, this is bugging me. Okay, so let me see. So door 1, trigger the dog. But then I don't know what to do after that. I guess this is where we have to figure out the order, right? Here, yes. I don't think door 3 would have anything to do with it, though. Everything's totally fine. Everything is fine. Now then it still goes back to that. Oh, this is bugging me so much. I'm just happy that we unlocked all of the keys and got like the base story thing done. The other stuff, I think we're gonna have to wait until like we figure out what to do. Cause I'm literally freaking confused here. Yeah, then that just ends with that. The dog chasing the kids. Okay, let me go back into door 2 one last time. One last time. Yeah, okay, we talk about the dog. Okay, we find the dog. Okay, and then this should be still the same thing. And then we slip. Hulk. Who's there? Yeah. Replay intro, replay outro. Oh no, we already did that. Sorry. See, it's weird. Like, I could be just overthinking, but in door 2, I feel like we're missing 2 images. But then again, I could be just overthinking that. Right, it looks that way, but it's like, I don't know what the heck we're doing wrong in door 2. Yeah, because these are the only scenes in door 3, because door 3 we're completely finished. But here it looks like there's 3 pictures missing, but door 3, there's no other options. We finished everything. Yeah, that's why I'm confused, because I mean, if you go back here, right? Door 1, wait. Sorry. This is door 1. And like, don't tell me that there's a bunch of missing pictures for door 1, because there's no other options outside of those ones. So I'm so confused. It's bugging me because it's like, I don't want to like keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again and us not figuring it out. And drawer 4 can't open until we're in that other special mode. And that one is a very weird thing. Cause in this version, but I don't know how to open up that mode. No idea. Cause like they posted. Sorry, give me a second.